Yes, yes, yes. Shout to my mic-minded people locked in. You know me. Well, if you don't know me by now, then let me tell you this. I don't really do the big hyped up introduction thing. I just like to get straight into it. I've got a special guest with me today. She goes by the name of Ayah Marar. Obviously, of course, she's a certified MC, also a vocalist, a performer, a songwriter, and many other things, I have no doubt. And she's joined me today because we're going to break down the culture, the craft, and the conversation. Ayah, I just like to jump straight into stuff, to be honest with you. And
Let's do it.
I thought we could start with a little game, and I bet you weren't expecting this.
No, I wasn't. Oh my God.
Good,
Let's go.
good.
Okay.
I'm going to put you on the spot. Okay.
Right.
So we've got a little bit of history in the sense that when I see you, and it's lovely to see you on the screen today.
Likewise.
But we haven't seen each other in person for a long time. But there was an era where we would cross paths in like
All the
human real life.
time.
A lot,
Yeah.
right? So when I think of you, I am teleported back to a certain era. Okay. So I thought it would be cool to play this game. So afterwards, I'll hold them up to the camera and I'll put pictures on the social media stuff when
Okay.
we launch this episode. But I've got the actual, I mean, these are in amazing condition, the original flyers. So these are the actual original ones
Oh
from
my
back in the
God.
day. Big up my partner, Nicole, for doing this amazing scrapbook for me.
Big up,
I
Nicole.
had a quick look this morning because my intuition was telling me that these flyers were in there and I was correct. So how am I going to do this? Right, I'm going to read out some details. I've got two flyers here, okay?
Okay.
I'm going to read out some details, obviously not saying too much, and I want you to tell me, firstly, you're going to tell me the event, and for a bonus point, you're going to tell me the year.
Oh my God.
So let's just see. So problem is with the lighting in this room, it's got like a weird UV effect. I can't actually read it very well. Okay, I can't believe how old this flyer is. It feels like it's pristine condition. Okay,
Jeez.
right. So what information can I give you? Nothing to do with the date. Okay, this is, and we'll talk about it afterwards. So this is South London.
Oh my God, I know already. Brixton backdrop.
Oh my God. Are you kidding me? You could have pretended. Anyway, let's pretend that you didn't say that.
I was so worried because I was thinking my memory is awful, but that one is, you
that's smashed
classic.
it. I mean,
Thank you.
Boom. All right, okay. Right. Before I do say what I was going to say and give the other. Actually, I'll tell you what then, clever clogs.
Yeah,
you can tell me. So let me not give you any other information. Yes, you are correct. Did you say the name of the event? You said Brixton
backdrop.
Backdrop. Right? Okay. So what's the year?
See, this is where I'm going to fall. 2004?
Ooh. Go a little bit forward.
2006.
Go a little bit back.
5. Okay, close, right?
2005. Can you believe
2005.
I mean, you're just going to take a punt on this, but you've got a 1 in 12 chance. Do you reckon you could guess the month?
September.
Ooh, November.
That's not bad. Okay.
So November 2005.
I knew it was an autumnal thing, but okay. Good.
Venue?
Not Jam. That one on the hill. Oh gosh.
You're on it.
I can't remember the name of it now, but I can picture it in my mind's eye. I remember, and
Telegraph.
It was Adam that put it together, and shouts Adam. Long time.
Brixton Telegraph.
Telegraph, yes. See, thank you.
So this is the first time that I'm 99.9% certain it's the first time I met you, and we were introduced by a mutual friend who would have been, fill in the blank.
Was it Gav, THTC, who introduced us?
It wasn't, but he was also a friend of this mutual friend. So there's a link there. He was another MC at the time. Not MC much these days. Yes.
System, wasn't it?
So yeah, man. So this is MCs, Fokus, Ayah, and System.
Oh my God!
And they had they had a number of headline DJs, but in terms of the D&B side of it, because it was a D&B breaks and hip hop event, there was two headliners. I wonder if you could guess either of the headliners. We're getting quite techie now.
I want to say Fabio.
Oh my God!
Is that right?
Can you see this flyer?
No,
This is mad. Yes,
you
it
know
was Fabio.
what's more mad is that I have been doubting my memory, my long-term memory for so long. So thank you. I'm really grateful that you've done this because it's just reminded me that I'm okay. I
Yeah.
don't have to panic.
The
So
neurons
this
are
is good.
firing, trust me.
Neurons are
Whatever
firing.
whatever
Yeah.
morning supplements you're taking or whatever you're
This is coffee number
whatever
2 for you,
food you're
Phil.
eating. Oh, okay, well, how much caffeine you've got is working. All right, you're not going to get this one. You're not going to get that other drum and bass
No,
headliner.
probably not.
I'll give you one. I'll give you a little clue, and then
Okay.
I'll wrap it. So it begins. I'll give you 2 clues. It was
Okay.
affiliated to Ram
Right.
Records, and his name began with S.
Nope.
Nah, it was Shimon.
Shimon, of course.
Mad.
See,
How
but
mad is that? Yeah. I can't
I'm s
believe you've
I
got
would
that.
say Shimon is a sh in my head, so I would never remember that with
Okay,
an
sure.
S.
Yeah,
So yeah,
fair
fair
dues. I
enough.
don't know if
Yeah,
you can
yeah.
remember
Yes,
this?
beautiful. I love that flyer. That's gorgeous.
Amazing flyer. And literally,
Yeah.
16.
All his flyers were she's done well. Did Nicole save those? That's amazing.
Yeah. What a cool
Brilliant.
design. But yeah, Music and
So
Bird
good.
Production presents Backdrop. 100% of
Amazing.
profit goes to underprivileged kids in South London
That's
with Books and
right.
Telegraph. So yes,
Yeah.
that is where we first met. Can you believe that? 21 years ago. Mad.
Crazy.
And that was all down to Mark's system, really, because he got me a first little leg up into London. So that was proper
Yeah.
like cutting teeth era. Good era as well. Good
It
era.
was, and I was hanging out with the guys who and kind of helping out with Lucky Devil Records at the time. Do you remember?
Lucky
Our
devil.
first signing
Wow.
was Alex Perez, a 17-year-old Alex Perez.
What?
And then we had Icicle and Switch on our second release. And then we had who else did we have? Saber. Saber was our third.
No way.
Yeah, so we had some proper
That's a
releases.
catalogue.
It's a shame. Yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame it didn't really go anywhere, but it had its moment for a bit, and then it sort of everyone did their own thing and scarpered to
Bit
their
of a
respective
springboard
corners.
for whatever they all went on to. But
Precisely. Yeah.
oh yeah, Saber. It
Yeah.
really defines that. To be fair, Perez and Saber, I feel like defined that kind of era for
Yes.
me.
100%.
Amazing.
They did for us, especially because that was our, that was the bridging the gap for us, wasn't it? From the old school drum and bass sound to the new school drum and bass
Yeah.
sound. And those guys were doing that in between thing, right? For us who'd come into, I mean, I came into drum and bass in 1998 was my first experience. And by then, obviously, they were in full swing. So, even though it's a long time, we were still not new. It wasn't new, the culture, when we came into it. Let's put it that way.
Sure. I
Mm.
tell you what, right? I'm going to put a pin in what you just said there, and we're going to come back to
Yeah,
because what I'm thinking of doing is
sure.
like we're kind of starting in the middle, then we're going to
Yeah,
go back,
yeah.
then we're going to touch on the middle again, and then bring it up to speed. If
Come
that
back.
makes any
Okay,
sense.
cool. Yeah, sounds good.
Basically, it's going
Sounds
to
good.
jump
I
all
like
over
it.
the place,
Yeah.
but
Just gonna move my
humour
seat
me.
forward.
I want to do the second part of the game.
Okay.
Okay,
Sorry,
and
I'm
we're
just
going to
adjusting
talk
my
about
bench.
you.
Okay, cool.
You get into your
Oh
history,
no, I'm
and
gonna
I've made
fluff
a
this
mental
one.
note, which probably isn't worth a lot, of 1998. Okay,
You
we'll come
never
back.
know. See, I doubted myself, but you never know. Your
This one,
brain might
to be
come.
honest with you, this one's too easy. I do think
Okay.
this one, so I can't. There's not really any way of making it more. I mean, you're just gonna get. I'll tell you what.
I
Before I'd
don't
say
know.
anything, just guess it. Guess what event you think this might be.
I'm gonna say, is it something in East London?
It's not.
No. Okay, no, then I haven't got it.
Okay. All right. Fair dues.
Okay.
Well. Okay.
Yeah.
Well. Cool. Maybe. Right. So headliners: DJ Storm and Breakage.
Okay.
MCs: Ayah and Focus.
Yeah.
Not going to say that one because that's too
Is it
obvious.
Intrigue?
It is Intrigue.
Yes.
Good
I'm
times.
so happy.
Do you remember the venue that the Ben was using back in this
Dojo
era?
Lounge.
Yes, Dojo Lounge.
Yeah.
Sick.
Mm-hmm.
Sick era. Can you
Thick
guess
era.
guess the date? The year?
It will be after Backdrop.
Mhm.
2007?
Oof. 2008. Yeah.
8,
8.
yeah. Okay.
So here's I
Yeah.
don't know if you can see this.
Big
So
up Ben.
the Intrigue flyers were cool.
Yeah.
And it's the front
Soundscape.
shot is like
Yeah.
a shot of Bristol.
That's so good. I'm gonna have to get some scans of these off you, Phil, because
I'll send
I
them. Yeah,
didn't.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Got others as well, but Anyway, I thought that would be a nice little way to,
Amazing.
because it's cool. Like, I love the fact that organically this podcast has come about, but we don't know each other particularly well, certainly not personally, but we've
Sure.
been with each other for a long time, 21 years ago.
It's a long time.
There's some heritage there.
There is.
Okay. Right. Like I said, let's go back a little bit. So I'd be really keen to hear about your life, prior to music, because as far as I understand, you had quite an interesting upbringing, culturally. So why don't you take us back to your sort of more formative years?
I grew up in the Middle East. I'm from Jordan. Grew up in a place called Amman, the capital of Jordan. And I mean, I've always been exposed to music in one way or other. I was a ballet dancer as a kid. I played the piano. Um, so it's always been a part of my life in some way, but never in the way that it became so when I moved over here. So yeah, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed 17-year-old, fresh off the boat. And I got involved in a drum and bass night at Warwick University called Pressure, and that was it for me. I was hooked.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hold on. Before we don't want to dive into drum and bass just
Yeah,
yet.
sure. No, you tell me.
So in Jordan, in the Middle East, like music wise, what was going on as a kid, as a child, or whatever feels important to you? Like, what was your first connection to music? Obviously, you said ballet, but
Yeah, we were the MTV generation, Phil, so the advent of MTV and then, MTV raps. So it was hip hop and R&B. And, my parents listened to a lot of um, pop music, I guess. So my dad was an Elton John fan. My mom was into Thin Lizzy and Deep Purple and all that kind of stuff. The Beatles, obviously. But then I was always kind of drawn towards mobile, music of Black origin, reggae and hip hop um, yeah, I mean, R&B was big for me when I was a teen, and then I had a spate of Rage Against the Machine, Nirvana, teen
Mhm.
angst at 16, and
Yeah,
went
man.
down that route. And yeah, I just kind of tried to experience every corner of music around that era. There was a lot of cool dance music then, and um, house that you couldn't avoid. There were big house records that were just ubiquitous. So it all sort of came together in a real broad understanding and love of music.
Nice.
Yeah.
What about being involved in music? Obviously, you're listening and watching MTV and hearing all this stuff with your parents and your friends and whatnot. But was there a music scene? Was there a club scene, a gig scene? Was there something that you could
No.
be a part
No,
of?
and it's funny because now there is, and when I was growing up there was nothing. It was even almost shameful to have a career in music where I
Wow.
come from growing up. So it wasn't even, that was kind of like, but you're from a proper family and you have to have these values, and being in music is really sort of against those values. And
Yeah.
I come from a very well-to-do Christian family background, Catholic background, and it was almost frowned upon to be in that. Since obviously my parents have completely done an about turn on that, but at the time it was sort of like, if you're going to go do that, that's you're on your own kind of thing.
Really?
Hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
What was the expected route then for your life to take, in that regard?
It was university, a job, and then getting married and having kids. Just straight up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was it just music that was frowned upon, or was it kind of creative art, the world of creativity per
I
se?
think, yeah, you're right. It was more about that's not really, how are you gonna forge a living out of something like that? So how is
Yeah.
that even,
It's the
which
classic one,
is,
isn't it? What is that belief that
I don't know.
what is that belief all about? That I feel like, well, I feel it in so many of us, as when I say us, I mean like music, creative artists, whatever, that
Sure.
to follow your passion and be creative, it means you're going to be skin.
Yeah,
Where does
well, I
that
mean,
come
but
from?
kind of true to an extent, but but I think it's more about that our parents' generation, they had the very well set out
Mm,
terms of what jobs look like and what jobs are successful. And if you weren't successful in a job, could you be married to someone who was successful, and that kind of thing. And I suppose we've lived through a lot of changes in our generation. I think that whether they've been social changes or changes in even in digitization of music and all this kind of stuff. Things have happened in our lifetimes that have really turned a lot of things on their head,
Yeah.
you know?
So you were more of an observer slash listener, experiencer of music rather than a participant then?
Sure. I mean, aside from the odds of piano concert at school or what they called talent show here and there at school, just, minor things that kids get involved in, but never anything that was I can really link to what I'm doing now. No.
Sure. So you played the piano. So is that something that you've kind of maintained in, you still play?
Sadly, no, Phil. And I'm ashamed to say, I mean, I'll get the keyboard out and have a little mess around in the
Yeah,
studio,
yeah.
but I was classically trained, and it was very much, it was a very strict regiment that I was on as a kid. So I think once I'd got my grade 8 at 16, I sort of went, right, there you go, I've done it now. And, because it wasn't something that came from me, it was very much driven by my mum. And
Okay.
when I realized that I'd achieved what she was wanting me to achieve, I just thought, the interest was gone, which is why I'm so um careful when it comes to my daughter and how I put things to her, and I make sure that they're things that what they come from her, and the drive has to go. You have to find that balance of being supportive without being overbearing and letting things flourish on their own. But that was a dead end for me after that.
Yeah,
I'm
I
sure
hear
it
you.
plays a part somehow in, there must be something in my brain that I mean, I know that classical music is a very different structure to modern music, and to especially like the stuff that we work on in drum and bass, whether it's more R&B led or whether it's more soul led. But I'm sure there are foundations in there that are inescapable, that have still play a part in the way that I write, I suppose.
Yeah,
Yeah.
undoubtedly in terms of melodies and just like, I
Sure.
don't know,
Yeah.
phrasing, construct. I don't know what the right
Structure. Yeah.
terminology is,
Right.
but as a
Right.
songwriter and a
Uh-huh.
vocalist, then yeah, and I hear what you're saying. Something you just said about coming to kids and your daughter. I think, yeah, I feel that as well in the sense that you don't necessarily want to be a parent that tries to live your life through
Through
your
that.
kid.
Yes, absolutely.
I see
Yeah.
that a lot in my son loves lots of things, but he is passionate about football,
Oh,
and
I knew you were going to say that.
I'm not your typical football dad. I go
Football
to the
dad.
games, I
Yeah.
support him, but some of the football dads are on top.
Militant.
They are peak level militant,
Yeah. Yeah.
screaming, fighting. It's
Yeah.
deep, and
I
you can
see
tell that
them.
they're like the failed footballer that is trying to live through this. Any football dads from Sandy Tigers listening to this podcast, I'm
We
not
love
talking
you.
about you. It's
Keep
the
up the
other
good
ones.
work.
But
It's all
yeah,
good. No, I feel you. And I don't think it's particularly useful. It's weird though, because then you see a lot of successful kids in, whether you look at people like Venus and Serena Williams and their dad, and people who are really successful at sport. And there's an element of neuroticism to the way that their parents approach so, but I don't know whether that's you have to judge it by the child, or whether you just have to hope to God that it doesn't push them too far. Or I'm not sure how that balance is. I think it really depends on how, individual kids and how they respond to that
yeah,
kind of thing.
that's a really good point. Actually, I guess if you look at anyone like sports is always a good analogy, but if you look at Tiger
Yeah.
Woods, Michael
Oh,
Jordan,
yeah.
the
Yeah.
sisters that you just mentioned,
Yeah.
like obviously their parents must have been pretty militant,
Well,
getting them to
yeah.
practice and train.
Right. But then you see people, for example, like Lewis Hamilton, and then when he talks about the sport, how much he loves it, you can see that
Yeah.
passion, but that dad was in there somewhere going, go on, go on. You know what I mean? There has to be a driving force somewhere. Although driving cars, boys, and not to be sexist, but that's kind of living the dream, right? Fast
Maybe
cars.
it doesn't interest me to be honest
No,
with you. I'm not really
there
that
you
bothered
go.
about I mean, Formula One, I just think is boring as hell.
Yeah,
Fast
don't let my
cars.
husband hear you. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
No, Mark, any
I've only
sport,
just got
Mark
into football at
watches.
the age of 2 years ago. My age of 42, my son finally got me into football. So
Oh, you weren't into football before that?
nah, not at
Wow.
all. I was pretty anti-football. So
Why is
my
that?
friends couldn't believe it when like I'm sitting there one day talking about holding down a conversation about what's going on in the Premier League and watching match of the day.
Yeah.
And it's like, what? Who are you?
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
Yeah.
You know what it was? Like I think this might sound weird, but well, two things actually. I kind of got mental scars from being a fat teenage, not even teens, like fat 10-year-old, 11-year-old goalkeeper for the school team, just getting smashed like 7 or 8-0. All the parents, in my head anyway, the memories, all the parents going, why is he in goal? And
Yeah.
da-da-da-da-da. And it kind of like meant, I think that put me off football for a little bit. And
Not
also,
nice.
all my
Yeah.
friends used to want to go down the pub on the piss watching the football, and I was just a massive stoner. And I didn't
Yeah.
want to be
Complete
in that
opposite.
environment. So
Yeah.
I'd just be like, look, you guys go and watch the footy. I'm just going to sit here, smoke my draw.
Listen to my
And
records. Yeah. Got you.
yeah, but these days I actually quite enjoy it. But yeah, what interests me is what you're saying is that there's no particular signs of being on a microphone in those earlier years.
Not really. No.
So what's the leap then? What do we need to know and understand to start getting the flavour of what led you to becoming Ayah, the MC?
Do you know, I was fairly green on the first record that I ever recorded. And some people might know and some might not, but it was Loxy and Ink that asked me to jump on a track in 2001, if not. I mean, the
What?
track came out 2001, but it was a little bit before that. And I remember Loxy called, and I was back in Jordan then. I remember, and he called me up and he said, "We got this track. Do you fancy giving it a go?" Because I'd expressed an interest. I said to them, "Oh, it'd be nice to try singing on a record, just out of nowhere." And he must have remembered, and he gave me a shout and he said, "Do you want to try singing to it?" And I thought, oh my God. I said, "Well, I'm in Jordan. I don't know what I'm going to do from here, but stick a pin in it. And when I get back, I'd like to give it a go." And listening back to it, I mean, you can feel the nerves in the recording, of this track, because I had no idea what I was doing, but all I knew was that I loved it. I loved it. I loved the music, and I'd been raving to it for years, and I'd been following Comrade and progression sessions around the country, and there was a deep love and interest there. I just never put it on paper. And we recorded Dance Child, and it just went from there. And I think not long after that is when I met Conrad, and we became good friends, and he became a mentor, more than a friend, a mentor, and someone that I to this day credit to with my style and my drive as an MC. But it all snowballed from that record.
Wow. Yeah, big
Yeah.
love to Conrad, man. Come on.
Big love. Yeah, we miss him.
Yeah, legends. I can't believe that the first call comes from the Renegade Hardware Generals themselves.
You know what I
5-star
mean? I know. I
certificated
know.
Loxley and Ink.
I know. Yeah,
That's
big
mad.
deal.
That's mad.
Big deal.
But if
Yeah.
that's 2001, I think you said, then we've skipped a couple of years. So at some point, you said 98 was an important
Yeah.
time. You moved to the UK. You went to uni.
I went to uni, which was less about studying and more about University of Life. But
Mhm.
those were my raving years, really. 98, 99, 2000. We had a bit of we did a pilgrimage. So we did a pilgrimages to all these nights. I remember going to see uh, progression sessions at the Marcus Garvey Centre in Nottingham in 98.
Sick.
Tyson Street Rave in 99, and all these amazing, thinking back now, that could never be repeated, these amazing raves and amazing people. And it was just, that was, it was needed. I needed to experience that for a few years before becoming a performer in the music, just to get a feel for what it was all about.
So had you heard D&B before you landed in the UK?
Not even a note.
Really? That's
Not one bit.
wow.
No.
So
98
would you?
literally was, and I'll tell you what got me into drum and bass. And I was sitting in a dorm room, whatever you want to call it, at university, and someone stuck on Wormhole by Ed Rush and Optical. And that, I was just like, that was me. That was pretty much what made me fall in love with drum and bass, that album.
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
man, what a schooling, because most people would say, if you said to people that are into the music, 98, pick the Game Changer album of that year, I would have said it, most people would say Wormhole. It's going to be there
Right.
for a lot.
Yeah, right.
So that
Absolutely.
what a baptism for you of
I know, completely.
hearing this music, because it gone.
I don't even know how. Where does it come from? Like, how do you even? It's interesting you ask this question now, because it's like, how does a little girl from Jordan who's never heard underground music fall in love with something so, and especially Wormhole, that's like, that's not even a gap. It's not a gap bridger. That's full deep in
fully
the
in. But
jungle. Yeah,
the interesting thing about it is that what I find it fascinating is that album and Ed Rush and Optical as producers, that really signified a bit of a changing of the guard, because pre
absolutely.
that it was very jungle dominated. And in so
Yes,
many conversations, and as a fan of the history, like people will say around about their 97, 98, Ed Rush Optical, the music started to get a bit techier, a bit darker, the crowd started changing, and some of the jungle people went over to garage,
right.
and et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, it's really interesting. You kind of got into it at that exact moment when it was starting
Yes.
to change and adapt.
But then you had a bit of a it lent back to that. Well, then you had the musicality come into jungle with progression sessions with Bookham and Run Tool and PhD and Seba and all these amazing artists that were on Good Looking,
Yeah,
who brought that back in a different way. So you still had the element of jungle, but with this musicality that had never really been a part of jungle before. It was, it
yeah,
softened
agree.
it, but it still kept it hard on the beat,
Yeah, man. Yeah, no,
which I
I
thought
think
was amazing.
that's a
And it
really
was
good
it
way.
was a journey. Like, I remember going to see Bookham at Ministry of Sound, and this must have been early 2000s, but they would keep the room shut until a certain point in the night. And then they'd open the doors and you'd go down this tunnel with the twinkling lights and you'd walk into the room where you had the sound of the rainfall with the lights, and you were, it was this immersive experience.
Oh wow.
And then you'd hear Comrade booming out, and Bookham would drop the beat, and it was just a whole, it was almost
Whoa.
like a performance element that I've not experienced since then.
I've
You didn't
never
even we didn't
experienced
even
that.
know what
That's
they
amazing.
we didn't know what they looked like. They were on the covers, they were the shadows, and in real life they were shadows. They were just silhouettes in the dark. The most you'd see of Conrad was a little red light at the end of his mic, and that was it. We
Yeah,
didn't know.
because
We
he
didn't have this visible DJ and MC culture. It was, you
yeah,
literally didn't know what these people looked like or who they were, and I think in a way that was great because you could be anybody, literally.
bit more mysticism
Yeah, but
around
but
it.
also it meant that I didn't feel like maybe I couldn't be a part of it because I didn't come from the UK, or because I wasn't,
Yeah.
I didn't grow up on the street, or because I didn't, I'm not part of an underground culture. It opened it up to people like me to be able to be a part of this, and it wasn't judgmental in any way.
Yeah, wicked, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's it. You talked about your pilgrimage around that time of going to these different. Can you throw out any other names, clubs, raves, events that you remember going to that were
We
game
the
changers for you?
Well, there was a club in Leamington Spa called Sugar that we used to
Mhm.
go to, that now is called Smack, I believe, but they used to host drum and bass nights there. There was a Birmingham. What was the name of the club in Birmingham? The big club there, Custard
Uh,
Factory.
yeah, Custard Factory. Yeah, yeah, Q Club and Custard Factory.
Yeah,
Custard Factory had
yeah,
like the fountain bit in the middle outside.
that's it. Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah. And obviously Fabric. I mean, I went to opening night of Fabric. I went to see Rage Against the Machine at Wembley in '98. And then after that, went straight into London and stood in a queue for 3 hours for Fabric
No
opening night.
way. And that,
Yeah,
I think the opening night was V Recordings, wasn't it? V
it
Classics.
was. Yeah. Yeah. I
I
mean,
didn't go.
you had, I think you had people like, who was it in the second room? You had like a more lefty sort of, it will come back to me, but you had a different sound in the kind of little rooms off the sides.
Nice.
Yeah. Fabric Live. It was crazy.
Man, yeah,
Yeah,
Fabric. Big up Fabric because it's one of the
absolutely.
very few venues of that iconic era that's obviously still thriving and doing their thing. Not been without its trials and tribulations, but yeah,
Absolutely.
there's
Yeah,
something
absolutely.
special about Fabric. Although I'll tell you what though, I've never found it a very easy place to perform at from an MC
Never.
perspective.
Not even a bit.
You're like, yes, I'm booked for Fabric, but in the
Yeah.
back of your mind, you're thinking, oh man, I really struggled to hear myself when I played there.
Yeah, I've performed there a couple of times at least, and I remember a night I did with Messi for Camo and Crooked, because we toured together quite a lot with Camo and Crooked, and I remember at one point being on stage and looking at Jamie and just being like, they, and we just kind of got on with it. But you know, talking about those intrigue days. I remember we used to bring our own equipment with us, didn't we? We bring our own mics,
I know.
And I remember System got me into bringing my effects box.
Big
Do you
up
remember that?
system. Come on. Yeah,
That
yeah,
little
yeah.
effects box. And for a while, I was like, I'm going to give it a go. And you had to clamber over the DJ to get yourself plugged
Yep.
in and panicking you weren't going to bring the whole rave down. You know, I remember working at Andy C once and doing it. I'm thinking, oh my God, please don't F it up. Don't do it. You know, plugging it all in and, ugh. But you didn't, we never thought, oh my God, I can't hear myself. We just did it. You know,
Yeah.
we just did it. So whenever I see people having a hissy fit about the sound, I just think to myself, look, just get on with it. Just
You
get
have
on
to
with
get
it.
on with it and
You
find a
have
way
to.
around it, whether that's
You've
sticking your
got
finger
to.
in your ear or just like, well, it is
Whatever it
challenging. Don't get
is,
it twisted. It is challenging, but
it is
yeah,
challenging. Yeah,
you
100%.
you have to be professional. And I think with regard to Fabric specifically, then just the magic of being at Fabric
That's
is
it.
enough for you to just not care too much.
Takes over. That's it.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, just going back to what you said about the effects boxes, that's really made me
Yeah.
laugh. System is proper on that, but I respect that because you know, Moose does it. I saw Moose at an event a few months back, and he's setting up his own, like he had a compressor, a delay unit,
Yeah.
his own infrared mic. Excuse me. You know, it's a real commitment to get there early because there's no
Really
sound
is.
check and stuff like that. Really, it's just like you said, you're
Yeah.
doing it before your set starts. And but it can make a difference. I, funnily enough, took a compressor unit with me to a gig I did at the weekend just gone, and
Yeah.
I'm really pleased that I've not done that hardly
How
ever.
did it
But
feel? Did it work?
good because it
Yeah.
sounded so much better. It was worth the 5 minutes of faffing about because
D-
the mic just sounded thicker and fuller
d-
as you would expect, you know, from a
That's
compressor. But it
it.
was worth it.
With the gigs that we do, I mean, if you're talking about like straight up jungle where there's a raw a sound and tonality, and then it's very much in the moment, and there are MCs that do that so well. You know, your navigators and your kind of X-Man and all these kind of old school um just rave MCs. But then when we came into it and the way that we work, there is something to be said for having an effect on your vocal, because we're trying to transport people into a different dimension that's not maybe as in the moment as those jungle raves. It's more of a like, close your eyes and you're just gonna you're
Yeah,
gonna be somewhere else, you know?
yeah, yeah. Adds to that, like the word ethereal. Is that the right
Exactly.
word? It
Yeah,
kind of comes to mind.
exactly. Yeah.
And
And I don't
also
know whether
this.
that's part of the whole the drugs generation as well. And like, you know, people get doing E or smoking weed or whatever it is, where you have this, it transports you a little bit and you have this out of body experience more than,
Mm,
you know. Um, we've not really thought about that before, but there must be a link to all of that and the way that things
yeah.
sound and, you know, what people were doing at the time.
Absolutely. Well, look,
Yeah.
sound is frequency, frequency is vibration,
Right.
vibration is
Right.
energy, you know, connect the dots, right?
Absolutely. 100%.
It's all one thing, people.
All there. It's all together.
We could go off on a bit of a nerdy techie tangent, but
This is us trying to have a
I love
shorter interview.
all that stuff because the thing
Mm.
is, right, um this isn't a slew on sound engineers, but just what I've noticed recently is that obviously sometimes sound engineers just aren't there. But what I've noticed in a lot of venues recently is that they're putting the mic through the DJ mixer.
Oh my God, don't get me started with
And
that.
it seems to
Why?
become like more of a common thing. And the problem is, without people that are thinking, A, like, what's he on about or why does it matter? Basically, just imagine all of the DJ's music going into the mixer and it's
Yeah.
already pushing the sound levels into the red limit where it starts to
Yes,
distort. But
yes,
then if you throw
yes.
an MC on top, you've got our signal going through into that as well.
Too
Basically,
many.
it's like too much stuff.
Too
So,
much. I had a 10-minute. This has never happened in my career of 20 plus years stepping out on stage or behind a DJ booth or wherever it is. The It was with Ronnie as well, and I was mortified because I went to step out to introduce him, and for 10 minutes nobody could figure out that the feedback was coming from the DJ monitors. And for 10
mm,
minutes, I couldn't step out. I couldn't introduce him. I couldn't.
yeah.
And Ronnie's looking at me going, come out. And I'm going, but the feedback. And I was just, it was a disaster. And then it turned
Yeah.
out that it was hiked up to the max on the DJ
People
booth. But
assume it's the mic. The mic is what feeds back, and obviously it does
right,
sometimes.
right.
But yeah, it can be the monitors,
It was
and this is what
bad.
I've noticed. So that's really interesting. You say that, and I think for me, some people would say, "Oh, you're overthinking it, man. Just turn up and get on the mic and do your thing." But I for me, like I like that element of detail and care because you know you want to
Absolutely.
sound good. You want to
I
sound
agree.
good, and Why not? Like, if you're gonna 5 minutes to set up a little box or unit or whatever to add something to the set,
Yeah.
why not, man? But yeah,
You know,
venues and engineers, stop putting the mic through the flipping
don't
DJ
do
mix. It's
it.
hard enough. All the
Don't do
DJs
it.
are redlining it to fuck anyway. They don't need
Exactly.
us,
No,
and they don't want
stop.
us in there. They probably don't want us adding to the pot either. Like,
Hey, listen, I mean, maybe I put that down to maybe engineers who haven't worked with drum and bass before or don't know the
yeah,
culture, and because it is part of the culture. I think even the setup is part of the culture. The way that things are set up and the way that monitors are set up, the way that booths are set up, it's all part of something. For example, you have we bring tracks down at the end of a DJ set so that the MC can introduce the next or hand over to the next. House DJs don't do that. They mix into the next set. So
yeah,
things like that. There's little there are little moments of
yeah, man.
culture,
It's like the unwritten rules, isn't it?
There
It's
you
like the
go. Yeah,
handbook
that's
that
it. Hmm.
doesn't really exist, but everyone kind of knows it.
That's it. Yeah,
Yeah, man.
unspoken. But I think everyone needs to know that, whether it's the light. That's another thing with me lighting. I can't deal with bright lights on a drum and bass stage, because immediately when you put a spotlight on us, you're making us separate to the crowd. And that's the last thing I want. I want them to feel like we're all in it together. And the amount of times I've had to say, kill the lights, man, just give it a wash, give it a nice blue or purple wash, throw a strobe in every once in a while. That's okay.
Yeah.
But all this bright lights, big city, I can't, that's not drum and
Yeah.
bass to me.
I love that. And what you just said, I think that's a sign of real confidence and commanding the rate, but being able to sound the mic, yo, lighting engineer, turn the
Yeah.
lights down, man. Like,
And I did
yeah.
that. I won't name the event that I did that at recently, but I had the stage manager call me to the side afterwards and go, "We can't turn the lights down because they need them for the social media, for the filming." And I just thought,
Of course. Yeah, that's the most important thing, isn't it? So yeah, they've got to get
and
the
I
drop
nearly
clips,
died. I
people.
thought, I don't want social media, it's fine, but then the DJ might, so I can't. So
As
I
long as
thought,
it
right,
looks good on
man.
TikTok, fuck the rave.
I can't understand it. I really can't. And again, this is not part of our. Maybe we're sounding like old farts, Phil, by rejecting the new era. But there's something about it that doesn't sit well with me.
Yeah.
Still
Yeah.
doesn't.
I hear you. I hear you.
Mm.
Okay, so it sounds to me like we're edging closer to the timeline where Loxin Inc. come into the fray, because you've been out raving, you're experiencing things, been
Yeah,
inspired by Conrad. Any other
yeah.
MCs that have been inspiring you?
I mean, Stamina, obviously, DRS, GQ, um, IC. I used to love this. There was a real rage, of course, but shout
Big
rage.
up Rage, yeah, 100%. Rage gets mentioned on most podcasts, actually.
Does he? Good
Yeah,
for him. Why not?
big up
But
Rage.
I remember that there was a real pushback against women on the mic for a certain time in that era. I'd say early 2000s. Um, I don't know if you have experienced this, but I'd have to. People would try and wrestle the mic off me, like people in the crowd or just random people. You'd literally have to fight for your mic, or just say, "That's mine," and unplug it and go, "Here you go," and just give them the end, the end of it
Yeah,
if you
you
want to
know
get
that
on,
one. Yeah, yeah.
So that's what I had to do after a while, because I was like, I'll bring my own mic and I'll just have to take it off, and because
People in
sometimes
the crowd were trying to get the mic off you, not other
yeah,
artists.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah?
yeah, 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 yeah.
Wow.
Not even asking. It was more than asking. It was grabbing the mic
Well, and you
off
think
you.
that was because you were female, they thought they could, like, try
Absolutely,
it when
they
they
wouldn't
wouldn't do
dare.
it to a bloke?
Yeah,
Really?
no, I'll never forget a moment we were at Miami Music Conference, and I was about to step on with who was it? Say it with me. It'll come back to me. Either way, there were these guys coming up to DJ, and this person walked up behind me and said, "Well, I'm their MC," and I said, "Well, you're not, because I'm booked to MC for them." Vicious Circle, it was Vicious Circle.
Oh, okay.
And
Yeah, yeah.
this guy said
Infamous.
it. Yeah, yeah. And I said, because I didn't know much, or I didn't know many people back then, I didn't know what was what. I just thought, you know what, if he's their MC, I'm not going to step on his toes. And I just went, "Go on, mate." And I turned around, and as I turned around, I looked up, and it was Stamina there, Lyndon, God love him. And he just went, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, he's their MC." And Stamina just kind of ushered me aside and went up to this guy, tapped him on the shoulder, and went, "Give her the mic back." And this guy just went, "Whoop," just gave it straight back to me. And I'll never forget
Wicked.
that. And I'll forever, 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 I like never forget that moment, because not many people stood up for us, and at a time
Okay.
when we needed it, Stamina was there, and he got it. He understood, and he still is that to me. Funnily enough.
Wicked. Yeah, you still in
Yeah.
touch?
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, big up
Very much
Stamina.
so.
Do you feel like whether you felt this? I mean, we're talking about the past, so maybe let's look at it through that window first. But do you feel that
Sure.
women in music on a mic were expected to be singers rather than MCs?
Absolutely.
Did you feel
The
like that?
amount of times that I get um vocalist, which I don't mind, fine. If we're all vocalists, that we are all vocalists. But there's always that distinction, and there'll be MCs on the lineup, but then it'll be like a vocalist or MC vocalist. There has to always be that,
Like
you
a
know,
distinction? Yeah.
yeah, 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 yeah. So I got asked to speak at an event recently, and the guy said, we wanted to get lots of MCs and vocalists opinions on the, and I just went, okay, fine, yeah, I get it. So yeah, there is that, and I don't know when we're ever going to break away from that, but you're an MC or a master of ceremony when you hold cool, when you hold the connection between the DJ and the crowd, and whether that's singing or whether that's more of a rap or whether it's a double time or whatever it is, because people like Conrad was melodic. He was half time and melodic. He wasn't your average MC. And I suppose thinking about it now, he released an album called Vocalist, so that was that's kind of validating in itself,
Yeah, that's an interesting one, actually.
isn't it?
You Do you think that an MC needs to spit? Can you
No.
be an MC that doesn't spit?
I hmm.
I'm not saying that you are. I just
No,
mean
no, no.
generally
I'm
when we're
I'm with
talking
you.
about
I'm with you on that.
classifications and
Can
labels
you
and
be
whatever.
an MC? Yeah, because you're a host. You're hosting this. If we let's think back to the origins of MC, and we're talking about Jamaican sound systems in the '70s, '60s, '70s, and
Yeah,
the MC was the DJ,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
right? So the DJ would get on the mic, would introduce the tracks, would talk about, would have a little, and that's where it sort of originates from. And then I don't know whether the cross culture of hip hop, where that comes in and all of it, and there's probably days of talk involved in that. But as long as you can keep that attention and keep that connection going, I don't think it matters whether you're singing or spitting or whatever it is that you're doing. There is an expectation, I suppose, in
mm.
in the culture to be spitting or rhyming or whatever it is. But is it necessary? I don't think so.
Yeah. I think it is almost different genres have different rules, don't they? Because
Yeah,
really,
right.
I would say, and I doubt many people would argue, like grime and rap and hip hop, you got to spit. You don't get host in grime room.
Sure.
I know I've
Yeah, but
said that.
then
I'm
you're
sure
not
there is
really
an
they
example, but
yeah, do they call them MCs though? Are you a grime
no, because they're
MC?
just seen as artists straight
Right.
off the bat.
Right.
We're going to go down this rabbit hole. But let's just go. Let's see where this takes us, and then we'll get
Sure.
back to your history.
Yeah,
But
far
I
away.
think within grime, the MC has always been accepted as the artist, as is hip hop and rap. And I think the
Right.
sound system one is interesting because, like you said, it's kind of confusing. But the person on the mic was called the DJ initially, but then so the sound system kind of had its own rules. But then when you go into like bashment, dancehall, rag, or whatever you want to call it, then
Yes.
they would chat and spit, but they were seen as artists.
Yeah, right.
So D&B and then even in jungle, the jungle MC. Okay, yeah, jungle and D&B, I think almost invented the host. Is that fair to say? I don't know because some people would host the
Yeah,
party,
I can
host an
see
event,
that. I can see that.
and garage obviously as well. I think garage and jungle and D&B to a degree share the same similar philosophies when it comes to how they
Sure,
view
but
their
I guess garage
MCs.
came after, so we were there
Yeah.
first.
Whereas
Yeah.
house obviously just doesn't have MCs really. House and techno isn't MC culture driven. So that's
No,
kind of doesn't
but
really
then
count.
you had MCs in the acid house scene, didn't you, at one point? Or like
Yeah, a little bit. But so
yeah.
the last episode I did was with Flux.
Mm,
Flux, I'm sure you know, one of the
of course.
original MCs, him, Chalky White,
Yes.
picking up the
Yes.
mic in like 89, 90.
Yeah.
Um, but that the MCs were almost frowned upon a little bit, especially, you know, hear all these stories about, oh, unplug the bloody mic, there's some geezer shouting,
Yeah.
"Ollie, Ollie, Ollie,"
Yeah.
whatever. So they were there, but they weren't really seen as
Respected.
like a, yeah, like a respected thing. I don't know.
I mean,
So yeah,
yeah.
Jungle D&B introduced the MC a bit more lyrics. There were characters in their own right. Do you know
Yeah,
what I mean? Like you
absolutely.
mentioned Navigator and a million names we could throw out there. And then as drum
Sure.
and bass kind of went further down the line, then at some point it
Well,
seemed
the
to
the
split
hype
off a bit more.
sorry to interrupt you, Hyper
No,
D
go,
was a
yeah.
big was a big player in that bridging that gap, wasn't he,
Yes.
really? In bringing that to, becoming a superstar within that
Yeah,
genre that was,
absolutely.
yeah, when it
But
was
he would
so he
host like, do you know what? I'll tell you what, actually, rather than me just spend the whole of your episode talking about
that's
it,
okay, I'm
which
good
I
with
can
that.
easily do, but I'm not that bloody self-absorbed. I'd like
No,
to
I
think
love
that
it.
is this is the best way I could summarize it, and then yeah, this might put it to bed in terms of me
Okay.
talking about it.
Mhm.
So this is where I get to with it, that hosting is a tool in the MC's kit, but
Sure.
an MC
Yeah.
and a host are two different things.
Okay.
So I think an MC has to be able to host,
Got
but you don't
you.
have to call yourself a host because that means that you're not an MC.
Right. And
I
but an
think that's what I'm
MC
thinking.
has to spit. And an MC has to spit is what you're saying, as opposed to
For
just
me,
yeah.
for
Yeah.
me, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. I don't feel
Yeah, I'm
like I need
with
to
you.
pussyfoot around it. Yeah, for me, an MC, you got to spit. You got to have something in the
Yeah.
locker.
You gotta have something in the bag.
Even if it's
Okay.
not like, I don't mean it's in your face, machine gun fire, bam, bam, bam. But
But there
there's got
has
to
to
be a
be some
groove.
element.
There's got to be a few
Okay.
little couplets weaved in and out somewhere, or.
Do you know what? I stand corrected. You're right. There should be. You're right.
And
Because we
I
couldn't,
wasn't trying
you
to
know what?
force you
I
into a
can't
certain
imagine
thing.
it. I can't imagine a situation we could ever get away with not doing that. And I don't think I've ever not done it. So yeah, I don't think there is a situation where we can go
That was a cool
over drum
interlude.
and
I'm not sure
bass.
where we got to with that. Back to where we started with it. Yeah,
Let's do it.
hosting, emceeing. I don't even know how we even got onto that. Well, no, we were talking about you. I asked you who was influencing you on the mic, Conrad,
Yeah.
and all these other fantastic MCs, and then we started talking about. Oh yeah, that was it. Female MCs can often be labelled more as a vocalist. That's kind of
Sure.
what we got into a bit. Okay, so is there anything else that you feel was important in terms of your evolution that happened around this time before you met and did this recording with Loxy and Ink?
Before I met them.
Or just on the build up, this kind of trajectory that you were on?
Yeah, no, I mean, it was really just a baptism of fire for me. Um, I was very much into the whole pirate radio scene as well. And, Rude FM, was a regular on the Rude, RUDE, not
Come on,
W,
882, yeah?
WU. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and
882 people.
double 8.2. And I was talking to someone yesterday about my having the same phone number since 1998. And I would remember, like, when you text in and they say those last three digits of your number and how good you felt about that. And all these little things. And I watched that Hyper D documentary recently, and it was funny because someone was talking about how when you went out and you met people, there was a question that was always asked. And when they said it in the documentary, something inside me just went, some nostalgic string within my heart just went bing. But some people used to say, "Are you a junglist?" That was a question that was asked, that, "Are you junglist?" And you'd be like, "Yeah." And that was, I'd forgotten about that, but that was such it's such a small thing, but it meant such a big thing. And we were such a community, and it was a really beautiful place to be, and a really welcoming and loving and I don't know, I can't really describe it to people who weren't there, but it was, yeah, it really played a big part in me feeling like it was okay for me to forge a path through it. And I forgot for a while that I was a woman trying to do it in a male dominated industry, because I had a lot of support from very strong men within the industry who, not forgetting the Fabio and Brian G, and people who didn't see me as a girl, but they saw me as someone who was good at what I did. And that's what really gave me that energy to keep doing what I was doing.
So when did you actually get on the mic and start doing your thing? What was the pivotal moment? Because when you were a kid, it wasn't then. It's not like you came from a background of kind of doing it in a different context. You weren't really on a mic. So at what
Yeah.
point did someone hand you the mic, or did you go and take the mic, or what happened?
Do you know, I remember going to see Comrade and DRS at a gig, and I knew all the lyrics to Progression Sessions 3, which was what they were touring at the time. And I remember looking up at stage at Comrade, and I was mouthing the lyrics along with him. And he came over to the corner of the stage and he went, come on up, like that. And I was like, ha! And a friend of mine at the time grabbed my arm and went, don't do it. You're off your nut. You're just going to make an idiot of yourself. Don't do it. And I wish I hadn't listened to him, because that would have been the first time that I'd ever got on a mic,
Wow.
albeit doing Comrade's lyrics. So I didn't. But I think it must have been something off the back of that. Do you know what, Phil? I can't remember the first gig that I ever MC'd at. I really can't. And that's something I'm going to look into, because now it just seems like I've always done it, and I can't remember that pivotal moment, but I always remember that night.
That's yeah. So he actually Conrad actually invited you up on the
Yeah,
stage.
he was, and I can picture it. I remember him going, "Come on, like, come on up."
Amazing.
And a couple of years later, I met him at the end properly, and I went up to him, and I'd started becoming an artist in my own right, and I'd recorded a song, and I said, "Do you remember, um, that night, '98?" And I told him the video and everything, and he looked at me and he went, "Do you know what? Yeah, I do." And he did, and he'd not forgotten, and he said, "That was you, yeah?" And I was like, "Yeah, that was me."
Sick.
Because obviously that would have been a moment for him as well, like some random chick, at a gig who knew all the lyrics.
Yeah, man. Progression
Yeah.
Sessions 3. Was that the red CD? Do you remember the CD?
Blue.
Is it the blue one? Because I don't know
Yeah.
which number the red one is. That's Conrad and
Red
DRS as well.
was that Logical Progressions, the red one? Or Progression Sessions, was it one
I've,
or two? I can't remember.
in my head,
There's
I'm
a
thinking it's
yellow,
Progression Sessions.
red, and the green one was four,
It's
maybe?
just amazing. I was literally
It's
talking to
so
someone
good.
about this yesterday, but
So good.
the way that DRS and Conrad combine and
Oh,
interlink is next level.
unbelievable. It's like they were telepathic. I can't even describe it. There was a telepathy there, like a musical I don't know what it was, but, and even the answer and doing each other's echoes, and
Yes.
it was yeah,
Sick. I'd love to be a fly on the wall in how they actually went about recording that in terms of like
amazing.
the studio session, how it went down. Was it
Yeah.
like loads of takes, or was it just like a
Well,
live
a couple of the
recording?
progressions were live recordings, weren't they? So a
Yeah.
couple of those were recorded at shows. So I think they were, it's just mind blowing. They're mind blowing. I think they're incredible,
Yeah.
both of them.
It's definitely up there for me. One of the best ever sets I've heard. So good.
Ever. And and we'd never heard that halftime over jungle drum and bass. It was always, the double time. So to hear that, the hip hop flow on drum and bass
Mm.
was mind blowing for me.
Yeah, man. Yeah, yeah.
Mm,
So you end up linking with Loxy and Ink, and
yeah,
then did was that a game changing moment for you?
absolutely. I mean, but also to be recognized by two people like them, to have that nod of approval. And you know what? They must have seen something in me that I didn't see in myself, because knowing them now, they don't mess about. Like, they're not going to just tell just anybody to get on their record,
I was
or
literally
to,
just thinking that they're not there
you
to
know,
just gas people up and like
so that says to
yeah.
me that these individuals are aware of your talent before even you are, perhaps. Maybe that's something that,
So how
I've
did you
never
cross
really
paths
thought
with
about.
them? How did that even come about?
Just out and about gigs. I think I met Loxy at Velvet Underground, Fabio's night, Swerve at Velvet Underground on Tottenham Court Road. So I used to go to that. We went to that weekly. It was a Wednesday night pilgrimage. And I'm pretty sure that's where we met and started chatting. And this is the thing, like, you saw the same people every week. So you had Wednesday was Swerve, Thursday was Baramba, and then you had Mass at the
Yeah,
weekend,
yeah, yeah.
and it was just, that was the life. That was
Wicked.
what we did.
Yeah, no, you're bringing back the memories, man. Yeah, we used to drive
Yeah.
up from Hertfordshire. And yeah, we did all that. You would just do it.
Yeah.
Go to
Yeah.
Movement, go to
Yeah.
Swerve, go
Yeah.
to the End or the Fabric thing, and
Yeah. The end fabric,
yeah.
or mass, or movement at mass. Yeah.
And it's kind of I feel like this kind of segues or brings us back up to where we started with my little game at the beginning, because it's
Oh
sort of early
gosh.
mid 2000s, and you know, I feel like the game changing moment for me. But I'd like to hear what it if this resonates with you, was going to Traffic, the Future
Yes.
Thinking Traffic event in
Yes.
Rhythm Factory in Aldgate, because prior to that,
Okay.
I'd heard different sounds. Like you, I hadn't heard logical progression years before that, but I was very much locked into kind of Shabba and X-Man, Twisted Individual kind of sound at the time. But I could tell it wasn't really me, not when it comes to being an MC.
I
And then
hear you.
going to that and meeting System and seeing some of these other artists, Marcus Intellect, D Bridge, and hearing the MCs, um, yeah, it really felt like a game changer. So,
Yeah.
what about you? Was there another moment that comes along where you felt like the rules had changed again?
I think really, and this is so funny because it's there's a full circle in this story as well, full circle moment. But I remember in '98 booking London Electricity and Chris Goss for our night at university, and that was maybe what was a few years after they'd established Hospital Records, and we've just celebrated their 30th birthday. And obviously, since then, we wrote one of the biggest selling singles on Hospital Records. Across the Line was huge, and among many other records that I did with them. But the hospital nights were at Herbal were important because that was another angle of drum and bass that I'd never seen or had never been explored in terms of the MCs and the DJs and your SPs and that a whole new world of actually you can do it like this that I'd never
Yeah,
really experienced before.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, that was a big moment and a turning point for me going to those raves. And then obviously you had like, I mean, I did a stint. I don't like to say DJing because I never beat matched, but I was a selector, let's say. And I used to cart my vinyl up to Herbal, the upstairs room, and you had Robin, Chaos, and Dylan downstairs.
Wow. Yeah, yeah.
So they did,
Therapy,
therapy
therapy
sessions,
sessions and all
yeah.
that
And that
madness.
was another. And we just had all of these amazing subsets within drum and bass that sprung up
Yeah.
in that period.
I
From
remember going into that upstairs room at Herb. I would have been with Mark, System, and Big Up
yeah,
Luke, if that, and them saying, Aya's DJing up here, more like a
yeah,
reggae hip hop kind of
yeah,
vibe.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I remember going
yeah.
up there and seeing, yeah, man.
Yeah, and not forgetting that Pendulum used to play downstairs and Counter
Yeah.
Strike, and you had Chase and
Yeah.
Status had their big break there because no, that's
Really?
really where things took off for them, I think, in terms of them getting that following and that sound. But I remember
Herbal
the
was
guys would
important,
play
wasn't it?
downstairs and then they'd come upstairs. El Hornet and all the guys, they'd come upstairs and just
Yeah,
chill,
yeah.
and everyone could smoke weed up there back, and it was amazing because yeah, it was such a vibe.
How would you describe Herbal to someone that never got the chance to go there?
Oh my God,
What was the essence of it for you?
my God, it was. I think the smoking ban killed Herbal not because of cigarettes, but because of the weed, because everybody in there was on such a relaxed, friendly, and music loving. It was so music loving. Everyone who was there loved music. It didn't matter whether they knew about music or not, but you were there because you loved it and you loved being there and you wanted to see what was, who was going to play. And that was because there was a whole era, just taking you back a little bit. Sorry to digress, but there was an era where we used to go out to hear a record. So, you'd hang outside Music House just to see what people were cutting and to ask them whether they were playing it that weekend. And you'd go to nights to hear, oh my God, is he going to play? Is he going to play? And to hear that one record. But then we'd moved on from that and people were going out to hear sets,
Yeah.
to catch Breakage do a, 2 hour set, or to catch, you know, um, El Hornet do an upstairs, an hour of uh, eclectic set upstairs. You know what I mean? It was all that
Mhm.
change in, yeah, it was a shift, I think.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
Yeah, Herbal was a cool place.
it really
It
was.
certainly lived up to its. And I think the name of the venue kind of set the tone,
Exactly.
as
And
you've
anything
alluded to.
goes. Anything goes at Herbal. You'd
It
have,
was small, wasn't
some,
it? If people that aren't
yeah,
familiar, then it's in Dalston Lane. It's in Dalston, edge of Shoreditch, Dalston,
High Street,
Kingsland Road.
Kingsland
That's it,
Kingsland
Kingsland.
Road. Yeah, Kingsland Road. That's it.
But it was
And
small, wasn't it? Like just
it
a
was
little doorway
small,
on the
it was
street.
dark, the walls were painted black. You
Yeah.
know, it got so hot in there that the ceiling would drip on, like the sweat would drip back down onto you from the ceiling.
Yeah,
And
man.
it was a beautiful mess. It really was.
Couple of hundred people. It wasn't like some
Couple of hundred
huge super
people. And it
club.
had, yeah, and then they had an outdoor at one point, but that was when the smoking ban started to come into effect. And that's when it started to lose it, I think. They lost
Yeah.
Turble then.
That era, Shoreditch, well, the kind of East London, Shoreditch, Dalston area it was just all about that, wasn't it? It felt like that anyway.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah, Turn
100%.
Mills, obviously Fabric wasn't far from there, Turn Mills for those
Right.
events. So
Yeah.
much going on there.
So
Yeah, so
much.
hospital slash hospitality, obviously that's
Mm.
as you've mentioned, that's a label, an organization, a bunch of people that you've worked with a lot over the years that you're part of, that you resonate with. So talk to me a bit about your involvement with hospital.
So that the introduction to the guys was obviously via listening to the early records put out by Hospital, which made us book the guys in 90. And it's funny because whenever I bring it up to them and I say, do you remember that? Like, you know, we met in 1998. That's a long flipping time ago. Um, but obviously I wasn't who I am now, as in I wasn't an artist then. I was just some chick at university who booked these DJs to play the night. And we like I'm trying to remember the first Space Between. That was the first record that I did. That was with Rob and RIP Rob. We did that. When was that? Maybe mid 2000s. And that was the first record that I did for Hospital. And it just snowballed from there. I'm not sure how the progression came about from that to Camo and Crooked, but I do remember them calling me and saying, there's these guys, a couple of guys from Austria, and they're in the studio now, and could you come through and just try and put a vocal down on this track for us? And I did, and I went through to the studios, and there they were, sat there, Marcus and Riney, in this little box studio, and we recorded Cross the Line, and it just sort of it all got bigger from there.
Do you feel that, well, is that one of your biggest tracks in your kind of back cat?
I mean, I think Thinking About You is probably the biggest track that I've ever recorded in terms of sales and listenership. But for drum and bass, I think that was one of the first tracks that introduced that kind of pop vocal to drum and bass. So bringing
Yeah.
that real stadium, you know, big hand grab, air grab moment
Yeah, yeah.
that hadn't really existed in, you know what
Stadium
I'm
is a great
saying?
word. Stadium drum and bass.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think that's a
stadium
good way
rock,
to
drum
put
and
it.
bass. You know,
Stadium
it's
rock.
like Bon Jovi on a record. You know, that was
White Snake.
yeah. But there you go. And but you know, it was very organic. It wasn't something that was forced. It just came about, and I know that since then it's kind of taken a real turn to the extent that now I think people are the vocal is sometimes taking over the track more, which is not what we intended for this, where we wanted this to end up. I think that there has to always be a nod to the fact that we are repping the music as opposed to using the music as a vehicle for fame as a vocalist or as a singer, you know. But yeah, no, we it kind of went from there, and then I toured with Camo and Crooked, and um, they've been like family to me, Chris and Tony and all the guys. They've always been extremely welcoming, and they still are very much involving me in all their events. So I'm very grateful.
Where did you go on tour? What kind of places?
We did all of Europe with Camo and Crooked pretty much, but I also did a world tour with Calvin Harris on a separate tip. So
What?
that took us all over the world. Yeah.
Come on. Tell me.
Yeah, as
Well,
far
no,
as
the funny thing is, like, I'm not. I know I sort of went what, but I'm not totally shocked by that because I was actually going to ask. I've got this thing in the back of my head of like being in Dojo Lounge back in the day, 2008, and
yeah.
Mark or sort of basically saying that, yeah, like you roll with Calvin Harris, but back then, like he probably wasn't quite the Calvin Harris that we know, obviously, these days. So, like, yeah,
No.
what's the link there, man?
I
Tell me
mean, I
about
think
Calvin.
it's It's a story as old as time. I think everyone's kind of heard this story in one form or other,
We
but
want to hear it.
um,
Many people haven't heard it. That's all that
thank
matters.
you. I appreciate that. So Adam and I met when I worked at Uptown Records. I was working the hip hop and R&B section upstairs, and he came in with a demo. A plucky 17-year-old producer, unknown. I mean, I think he'd released a couple of house records, but no one knew who he was. And he left a CD with me, and I remember listening to it and going, "This is sick." And there was an email on there, and I dropped him an email and I said, "Who are you? And what is this? And this is amazing." It was all done. He'd recorded it on an Amiga, so it just sounded crazy. It was just something I'd never heard before. And he said, "Well, I'm Adam and I'm from Dumfries and I'm just looking for somewhere to live. I'd love to live in London." And I said, "Well, I've got a spare room in my yard in London." And he moved in to the spare room and we became mates, and the rest is history.
What?
Yeah.
That's mad. Calvin Harris.
Yeah. Yeah.
Basically, I think what you're saying is, what I'm saying is that you broke Calvin Harris. You discovered Calvin Harris and broke him.
I
Not broke
love
him.
I love
That
that.
didn't sound
Yeah.
right. You launched his career, right? You are responsible for Calvin
I
Harris. Is
tried
that
to,
right?
I took his demo around to so many record labels at the time and just was like, "This guy he's sick. Please check it out." And so many people said, "No, not interested, not interested." And I
Really?
remember I felt so dejected. I was just like, how can you guys not see or hear what I'm hearing? And eventually someone did, but that was off Adam's own. By then he started to tout himself through other avenues because he had to leave London after a while. He couldn't afford to stay, and look at him now.
What an amazing real life story slash message there is within this for we're talking about off camera about our children and stuff. But yeah,
Yeah,
that kind of being resilient, believing in what you do, like being able
yeah,
to accept rejection and still believe in yourself, like that's crazy, isn't it?
sure. It really is.
What was his big song that what was the first Calvin Harris song that everyone would remember? I can't think of it now.
His
What
first song, the first record I think was "Merrymaking at My Place" was the first record I think that was playing.
that's not the
Merrymaking,
one.
drug taking. That was the first one that came off his first album. "Ready for the Weekend" was the big pop one that was when
Yeah, wasn't there one about?
then
I'm going to sound like a right dick now. Like something about to do with a girl in the title. Girl.
there
Ah,
was one that he did
I
with
can't think.
Dizzy Rascal as well, but that was a little bit later. Um, oh, the girls.
Girl. Yeah.
Yeah, I like them
Girls.
big girls. I like them small
That's yeah,
girls.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Was that
yeah,
one of the
yeah,
early tracks? Was that on the CD?
That was one of the early tracks as well. Yeah, that was on
Wow,
the
that's
first album.
crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
So do you reckon you were one of the first people in London to hear Calvin Harris?
I know I am. I'm sure I
Yeah.
was. I don't think he'd got very much past Uptown before I was, on his case about it. Like, who are you? But
Were you
he
tempted to become his manager or something?
do you know what? I wish I had. I wish that at the time I knew more about music publishing and management, because had I been the person I am now back then, 100% I could have done that. But I didn't know anything about it then. I was so naive myself, and I got myself into some you know, spots in music with the wrong people because I, you know, didn't follow my instincts and I just believed what people were saying. And that's not where you need to be a manager or to be a publisher. You've got to really have the right vision and focus. And I think I was very much caught up in the magic of music and the beauty of it all without seeing that there was another side to it that you needed to pay attention to.
Are you saying that you got ripped off?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean that's
100%.
that's my language. Like you might call it something
Yeah.
different, but
Yeah.
no, I think we can all relate to that.
Definitely.
Essentially,
Definitely.
essentially, do tracks for labels, and you get no accounting, no sales, no money.
You know,
Like
it
that,
was
almost
more than
unfortunately, is quite typical, isn't
it
it?
was more than that. No, that I can accept, because
Okay.
we know that there was a shift in the way that labels treat artists, and
Mm.
we as annoying as it is to read the small print, that we should have been better, well versed in the legal side of things, and that's something that you've just got to go, I'm learning the hard way.
Yeah, I
But no,
agree.
this was more on a management side. I've not really ever spoken about this because a lot of people assumed that I took a step back from music to start a family, which I'd let people assume that because why not? It's okay for women to do that. And it's also very okay for women to carry on their career when they start a family. But it was very much a bad experience with a manager and people within the management side of things that, um, yeah, were bad intentioned.
Are you able to elaborate at all?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, um, taking cuts of things that they weren't a part of, they shouldn't have taken cuts of, pushing to get paid in cash so that they could get paid before, tax came into it. Just little
Right.
things that
Okay.
I should have known better, but at the time, because I thought this person isn't going to do wrong by me because they know how much I love music and how much I'm doing this for the love. How could anybody be um dishonest who felt the same way as I did? And I didn't realize that people can be dishonest and say things that you want to hear. And, but yeah, I got waltzed up the garden path, Phil.
Okay.
Unfortunately,
Yeah, no, I'm
yeah.
not gonna. I'm not digging too much just for the sake of. Not obviously asking names and all this kind of thing at all. I was just wondering. Well, at first things first, for my knowledge, but also for the listeners,
Mm.
because people talk about managers and all this other stuff. What does a manager do for an artist? What was the
I
manager? Actually, let's talk about you. What was the manager doing for
Do you know,
you? What was the point of it?
I think that was I'm glad you asked this. That was the biggest mistake of my career, was getting a manager on board, because there was absolutely nothing that I couldn't have carried on doing myself, and probably would have been better for me to learn in that way, especially as a drum and bass musician. I see the need for managers when you're Taylor Swift or Beyonce or Lady Gaga, because at that stage, they become more a manager of your business, you know?
Mm. Yeah,
But a
yeah,
manager, what do you need a manager for? If you're so big that you need help, you have people who can do your publicity, you have people who can do your online, you have personal assistants. Okay, if you're rolling at that level, but the level that we're rolling at, there's nothing that you can't do yourself and that you shouldn't be doing yourself, because you should be involved in that side of things. You should be the one taking the meetings. You should be the one talking to labels. You should be the one reading the small print on your publishing deals, on your um, single deals or whatever it is. So I don't think there was any need, but I was pressured into thinking that I needed somebody, and I naively took someone on, and I didn't need him. I didn't need him.
pressured by who?
Um, People, it's funny because I did a lot of gigs in for corporate events, and I remember coming across someone within the corporate world who said, "Oh my God, you're so great, and you really need to have a manager, because that's the way to package yourself. And if people see that you have a manager, they see you're serious about this, and that you're a serious artist." Which is a load of bollocks, really. But you get caught up in that, and I thought, right, yeah, maybe I do need a. And he said, "I'll put you in touch. I'll put you in touch with someone," and he did, and that was the beginning of the end, really, in
Right.
in that
Okay.
respect, you know.
Yeah, I'm with you.
And it wasn't right. It wasn't right at all. And yeah, I wish I could. I think I don't know if now. I don't know what kids feel like now coming into drum and bass, and whether it's a um, different worlds. But I don't think that there's any need for a manager at all.
No, the
No.
ironic thing is, like, with all the tools we've got at our disposal now, you're right. I agree. Like, there's probably way less need for a manager, but
Sure.
there's probably way more young artists who have got managers in inverted commas because
Yes.
it's like the cool thing to do.
No.
I've got to
Exactly.
speak to my
Uh,
manager, but what do you what are they doing?
Well, exactly. But this is the thing. And I worked with a guy called Matt, who's amazing. Big up Matt, Neptune Management. And Matt and I worked together for a little bit, coming out of that bad experience I had. And I'd spoken to Matt about it, but Matt approached it from an angle of like, and Matt is really knowledgeable. He's really good with music. He's really good with online stuff, and
Yeah,
how to watch things not trending, but how to watch things on Spotify, for example, and all the technical things that I wasn't necessarily very
yeah,
knowledgeable on. But Matt approached it in the way that I mentioned, where he said, "Look, we're business partners, and if there's something I can bring to your business, then great. And if not, then I don't need to be a part of it." And I loved that, because that's the approach to have. And those are the
yeah.
people that you want around, the people who love music, and his whole spiel, if you like, was that he loved my music, and he said, "I've always loved what you've done, and if there's anything I can bring to it, then great. But there's nothing that if there's nothing that you can't do yourself, I'll tell you as much." And that's, to me, that's honest. And people like that are one in a million, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think I was being a bit flippant then because I can see the need for managers in certain areas. And actually, like you just alluded
It's,
to, I
yeah,
know some really good managers, but
sure.
I think there's a bit of a myth that you need a
You have
manager
to
and an
have,
agent to
no,
elevate you.
they,
No, you need to
yeah,
create the demand first, elevate yourself to a level where the glass ceiling's
exactly.
kicked in, and then a good
There you
manager
go.
slash good agent will then take you up to beyond that glass ceiling to the next one.
Exactly.
Would you agree?
Exactly. Yeah, if
Yeah.
you're struggling too many plates, if it's too much, then yeah, there has to be that progression. But I think, as you say, people are picking up the managers far too early in the career, and you miss out on a lot of experience that way. You know, you miss out on a lot of things that you should know yourself because there's someone else doing that stuff for you behind the scenes, but they shouldn't be. You need to know that first and foremost.
Yeah, yeah. The best way to learn is by doing the thing, isn't it?
Experience,
Old
absolutely
adage,
agreed.
but yeah, it's
Yeah, yeah.
100% true. Just talking about agents, I'm interested in this topic as well at the moment. It comes up a lot. Um, what do you feel? I'm not asking you to bait anyone up here, by the way, so don't worry. What do you feel is the role of an agent?
I mean,
What should a good agent be doing?
I think an agent's role has changed in the trajectory of my career as well, because mainly because of COVID. I think COVID
Okay.
was a big turning point in what agents do and the function that they serve. Even though it's still similar, um, agents. So I was with a big agency before COVID, um, and agents then were, we teased that they were ambulance chasers, that they were people who, when they saw someone doing well, they'd jump on that bandwagon and just be like, "Oh, and I can do, oh, you're amazing, and I can do this and that for you, and I can," and they did. And I suppose they did get you these shows, and they did everything. They did the booking, the flights, and this and that, and all the technical. But now, um, agents certainly facilitate, and big up Chris and Clinic, and I love you guys very much. They do a lot for me, but we have to do a lot more that we didn't do before. So booking our own flights, and organizing the diary, where they used to do that for us before. And also, Chris won't pull any punches. He'll tell me, he'll be like, "Yeah, that's not for you. You're not going to do that. I'm not going to blow smoke up your ass." Whereas before, I'd be like, "But just tell me that I'm amazing. I just want to hear like all this," and
Validate me.
they won't do that. They won't do that anymore, sadly. Yeah, right. So I think that an agent's role has changed. I think essentially they are what they are. They're people who have connections with bookers, and they're people who can facilitate you getting shows. And that's essentially what an agent is.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So do you think an agent part of an agent's role is to get you bookings?
But that's
Do
all
you think
that's I
they
think that's 100% their role, isn't it?
Well, I don't know. No, I think well, this is why I'm interested because I'm there
Yeah.
was a period of my life where I wasn't sure, and some people said to me, "No, no," like people in the industry said, "No, you've got it twisted. Like it's not the agent's job to get you bookings. It's yeah, the agent is there to manage your bookings, manage your diary, facilitate payments, set times, not agendas. What's it called? Itineraries, travel, logistics."
See, see,
And I was
I
like,
don't
"Oh
know.
shit, really? Have I got this wrong this whole time? I thought that agent should be
Yeah.
waking up on a Monday going, right, hello, Mr. Promoter, you need to be booking Focus, da 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 da." And they were
Do you
like,
know
"Nah,
why,
that's
Phil?
what a
Do you know
manager
why
does."
that is? It's because you and I used to go out and do that. We'd meet the promoters and go like, "Look, if there's ever if you've got a need for an MC, like, hit me up." And we came up in that whole culture. So there is a part of us that's just like, "Am I not supposed to be doing this? Am I not?" But no, I think a lot of bookers now won't even speak to you as an artist. I think they
Mm,
exclusively deal with agents.
yeah,
So an agent will represent XYZ, and they'll go to the booker and go, "Right, I've got one, two, three. Who do you like for it?" As opposed to us going to the promoter and going. The only time that I ever do that is when I do gigs for friends. So let's say I do a lot of stuff with prototypes. So Nick will hit me up and he'll say, "I'm doing the 360 show." He won't go through the agent. Then I'll take it to the agency and go, "Look, I've got this. So you don't get a cut." or
interesting.
I can bring something to them and go, "Look, I've got this. I can't manage it myself. Can you take it on, do all the
Yeah, yeah,
back,
yeah.
the back work and take your cut? So I think it's, yeah,
I mean, I'm loving
subjective.
this. I'm loving
Mm,
this to get this different insight because ev every we're not talking specifics here, but everyone seems to work a little bit differently.
sure.
You know, I had an agent. I did all of last year without an agent, and
Good
it was
for
my
you.
busiest year
Yeah.
ever. But
Yeah.
but after 12 months, I did hit a bit of a glass ceiling because I was working for lots of small grassroots promoters, which I'm there to support, and I'm all about that. But then you start to notice that there's a certain type of show and event promoter that ain't dealing with the artist. They're going to the agent and saying, right, who's on the
Well,
roster?
exactly.
Boom, boom,
Yeah.
boom. And then you kind of realize that, okay, yes, of course. Like to get those type of gigs,
Yeah.
we do need an agent. But then you've got
Absolutely.
this whole thing of like, I swear I spent a couple of years, all I was doing was someone hits me up. You know the drill. Someone hits you up, want to book you. Oh, no problem, mate. But you've got to go through my agent. And I started to think, what am I doing? Like this is completely pointless. Like,
Yeah.
I'm getting the gigs and just outsourcing them and losing money.
Maybe that's a good way to separate it then. That the grassroots venues have a different way of
Yeah,
working to the big arena shows or the festivals and stuff, and maybe separating those two makes it a bit easier to manage
yeah.
expectation wise and contact wise, so you can make it,
Yeah, yeah. Everyone's got different perspectives, haven't they? I was chatting to a promoter at the weekend. Like, the classic one, like promoters hate dealing with agents. Da,
yeah.
da, 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 da. I actually think I also promote little events, and I actually quite like having a buffer between. Look, I don't really want to talk like be what's the word, like negotiating fees with the artist direct, particularly,
No,
especially with their MCs, because I feel like they're my peers in the scene. But it's
sure.
different when you're mates with people, but I quite appreciated having an agent as a bit of a buffer.
Exactly. And it makes it less
So
awkward. Yeah.
there's pros and cons to everything, right? And this is
Agreed.
like a little industry insight for people. Having said that, I'm not trying to make this just about me, by the way, but whilst it's in context, this year I now have an agent again, and I'm really pleased about it.
Okay.
And I specifically wanted to be with this agency. I didn't want any old agent. I would have happily carried on with my own, but it's a good fit. I like their ethos. I feel that they're there to support and sprinkle a little bit of like management tactics into the mix as well.
Yes. Yes.
And like you just said, it's some having can be quite lonely just doing all of this on your own.
It really
And it's
can.
nice to have
Yeah.
someone in your corner just
A
talking your
team.
name to
Yeah.
people
A
now and
team.
again. Yeah, team,
Absolutely.
exactly. That's what it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
For me,
Hmm.
I like to be part of a team. I like to represent something, and I feel like I've found that again. But bringing it back full circle, younger artists. Well, I tell you what, rather than me just say it, what would you be your advice to a younger artist and they're like, oh, I need an agent, I need a manager. What would be your advice to them?
I think I'm probably, when you, when you hear parents or grandparents say, "Oh, in my day," or "God, the kids, what are the kids doing?" I hate to say it, but I feel like I get what they're saying now. Like I feel like I'm there, where I it's almost there's part of me that I have to speak to my husband about it sometimes. I go, "Mark, like, is this okay?" And he goes, "No, but that you're saying that because, but remember that these kids don't know any different to you. So that to them, that's the culture. But that's the key word for me is the culture. I'm so protective. But then I didn't start at the beginning of the culture. So maybe someone who is from the beginning of the culture might think that about me. But there is something that I feel we're starting to lose. And when I see younger artists still holding on to the principles of the culture, however you want to define that, those are the ones that I feel like could benefit from my advice or my time. But there is a whole subset of other new artists that I just don't get it. I don't get it. So
I
I
don't
don't
really
know that.
understand what you mean. Like, can you elaborate? Like when you're talking about
So
the culture
So
side
you're
of things,
saying
just
any
break that down for
advice?
me.
I couldn't give them advice because I don't understand essentially what it is that drives them or what
Oh,
it is
okay.
that they're doing within the scene
Like in
for
terms
me
of
to give them
what they value and what they want to achieve and aspire to. Is that it? Part of
anything, or
part of it. Yeah, yeah,
musically, or whether they need managers and agents or not, or whether, so
yeah.
what is it that you want from this? Why are you doing this? Because as
Okay.
far as I can see, it's a very superficial involvement. And I'm
Mm.
sorry if I'm being too harsh on that, but
It's not harsh.
again,
That's
that
not
could
harsh at all.
that could be something that is just a remnant of my, that
Yeah, no, I think I
culture
understand what you
shift.
mean. Actually,
Yeah.
let me. Is this what you mean? So that there's more and more artists now whose experience of being an artist is essentially making social media videos, content,
Right. And I'm not
releasing
mad at
tracks for
that.
streaming, but they're probably not performing that much. So that
I'm
as
not
an
mad at
artist,
that on a non-drum and bass level, but when it
no,
comes
no,
to drum and bass, what is it that where are we at? Because I don't really know where we're at in it.
okay,
And I love that there's still stuff going on. It feels to me that there's another full circle moment coming around at the moment, like where you're getting the grassroots venues slowly creeping back because maybe the bigger events are not doing quite so well, that you're getting flyers that are a bit the diversity. I mean, that is another, we'll talk about that because that goes up and down. But um just to have that knowledge of where this has come from and to preserve the essence of why people do it and why people love it and what makes drum and bass special,
yeah,
rather than the focus on sales or social media or the superficial aspect of it. That's where I don't know where I don't know
okay,
where we are in that, in terms of drum and bass acts, not musicians as a
I hear you.
whole. Yeah.
I hear you
Yeah.
100%. And a
Mm,
conversation that comes up quite a lot on these podcasts, depending on who the guest is.
sure.
Certainly me and Visionobi will talk about this a lot personally and on his episode. But yeah, there's a growing sense that in drum and bass, the MC becomes a bit less valued as time goes on.
Sure.
So
Sure.
that's another. Do you feel like that?
Yeah, I did catch a bit of that actually, and I was gonna mention that the part that I saw of that conversation that you had was, um, is there no space for new? Where are the new MCs? So where's that space
Yeah.
being left open for the new people to come through? Because you've got that handful of people that are getting booked for the gigs, and it's just that, you know,
Yeah. Well,
and
like
it's
it's pretty
interesting.
much a factor that like the same seven or let's just say seven, but there are about seven MCs get booked by the majority of DJs.
But then is that because there's nobody else, or because the people that are not getting booked are not good enough, or what is the reason?
Yeah, fair question. I don't think it's necessarily because they're not good enough. I just think
Mm,
people like to live in a bit of a status quo. I'm not talking about the band, by the way, a status quo esque comfort zone world where it's just like, we like working with that and there's nothing wrong with this, by the way, because people have it's completely entitled to do whatever the fuck they want with their career.
sure,
But
sure.
most DJs slash agents have got a list of approved MCs, and
But what
it's
what
interestingly
did
for
they?
people. If people
Yeah,
like wonder what I'm talking about, there's a literal actual list of MCs that can work with that artist, and if you're not on the
yeah.
list, you're probably not going to get booked. And
But
it
why
seems
would you
to be
not
this
be on the
very
list?
same. Well,
Yeah.
just because I
Do they?
think
Because is
people
it
like
because they don't
working
rate
with.
you? I'm not when I said because you're not good enough, I don't mean that you're not good. That people aren't good enough, like they're not rated by these DJs. Because I
Possibly.
suppose I felt like that for a while. I felt
Okay.
like, um, am I not getting booked because? And it wasn't because of that. It's because I wasn't putting myself out there in those circles. And now I'm slowly starting to get back into it, and I'm like, okay, so no, I
Mm,
can do this. And you doubt yourself, I guess. But that's where my thinking is. It because we're not present or they can't see us to book us? Or is it because they
yeah.
only rate these people? Or is it, you know what I mean?
Well,
There's
I'll,
so
I'll
many
give you my
questions.
truthful answer to that.
Go on.
I think what it is, from my perspective, is that generally speaking, the DJs slash producers, the artists, let's just say the DJs, want to work with the MCs that don't do too much on the mic.
Oh,
And that's fair enough because that suits the DJ style. But
sure.
there's MCs that look. We're going back to this, aren't we? Really, there's MCs that spit, and there's
Yeah.
MCs that host,
The host and
and then
sing and yeah,
and
right. Yeah,
obviously
yeah.
there's people that kind of do a bit in between. But I think yeah, generally speaking, and look, if you're a DJ listening to this and I've got this completely twisted, please like hit me up and let me know. But
Yeah, please. I'm
generally
interested
speaking, the
too.
DJ, it's the classic adage in drum and bass, isn't it? We like the MCs that know when to shut up, don't do too much, and this, that, the other. But if you're a good MC, like you know that anyway, like you know how this shit works.
Absolutely.
Do you know what I
Absolutely.
mean? So
Yeah.
I think that's what it is. It's more like they want to work with the hosts more than the spitters.
Well, riddle me this. Can I turn it around and ask you a question now?
Please, yeah,
Because I
yeah, yeah.
feel I feel very strongly about this. DJs on the mic.
Ugh.
What's up with that?
What word can I use that isn't
No,
just
but what?
bullshit?
No, but
Basically, is probably the easiest way to put it.
honestly,
Like it to me, it is like
it's
it shows
disrespectful,
you don't
right?
understand the culture at all.
There you go. Thank you. But it
Because
also
it basically makes people sorry to cut you like it makes
no, no,
people
no.
it
Please
makes
do.
it
I
look
asked you.
like all the MC does is just pick up a mic and shout a load of stuff, which makes it almost takes it back to when we talked about the early days of MCing, and I was saying that the rave MCs weren't really valued because they were just seen as a bloke that just shouted make some noise, hands in the air, come on. I feel like the DJs that want to do again, they can do what the fuck they want. They're massive artists. I'm sure they don't give a shit about my opinion anyway, but I do. But
Well, you'd be
yeah,
surprised.
it just brings it devalues the craft. Like, where's the craft in just picking up a mic and shouting? It's like we don't need
Thank
the
you.
MCs actually because you don't add anything other than some
Thank
noise.
you.
So
Thank you.
it's just
I have
bollocks,
this
basically.
I have this conversation with Chickaboo. Shouts Chickaboo, originator. She's
Yeah,
amazing,
yeah.
and she's
Come on.
such an important part of the culture, and such a driving force. But her and I talk about this regularly, and she says, we've trained to do this for so long. Everything. It's the way you hold a mic, the timbre of your voice, the way you pick up, where you come in and out of a track. To reduce it, as you say, to picking up a mic and shouting into it, it just devalues our whole reason for what we do, and it devalues all the years that we've spent learning our craft. And I agree with you. I think you're absolutely spot on with what you're saying, and I'm glad you feel the same, because it's getting to a point now where I'm like, guys, and listen, no disrespect, there are some people, I get you, I get it, that it's very tempting to, but why? Either don't pick up a mic. I digress. Fred, for example, Fred and I work together, Fred V. At the end of the set, Fred might come up to me and go, "Can I just say a little something?" I'm down with that. Man's just played a set. He wants to grab the mic and go, "Thank you, guys." I love that. And I think that's beautiful. That's not the same as no MC, DJ, microphone picking up whenever he wants to
Yeah.
shout in, random bits. Very different. That's my problem. That's
Yeah.
my boggle.
Yeah, man. I think people also expect 100% within drum and bass don't realize this isn't like a get your violins out moment, by the way. I'm just saying, like, showing up at going to a show, hosting in inverted commas for 2 or 3 DJs, might be on the mic for a couple of hours, got no idea what they're going to play, how they're going to mix. Da,
Yeah,
da, da. But like we said earlier, you might not even be able to bloody hear yourself because the monitors are crap. There's no engineer. But
right.
being able to navigate that and weave in and out and do what we do, and I'm talking about
Yes.
big up all MCs here, all the
Yes.
people in the community, that's not
Yes.
easy.
No. No, it's
So
not.
I think it's to look at it's like, oh, the MCs just kind of come on and say a couple of things here and there. It really isn't that.
And I think, as you say as well, like the people who are doing it as well, their voice just isn't suitable. It's just not suitable. So I find it really jarring, and a lot of times it's just not right. And
I've not
it
heard
just
many examples, like I know it's going
and
on, but
I'll
I can't.
tell you it off camera because I don't want to
Okay.
bait anyone up. But when
Yeah,
we,
fair, fair,
I'll tell
fair.
you,
I need to check this
I'll
out
give
just
you,
for humor more than anything.
yeah, some examples. Yeah, yeah. And who,
But
if
we
they're
are.
listening, I hope it makes them stop now for fear of getting
But
outed.
we are where we are, man. And like you said, again, I do like to. I think it's good to have I don't think this is a rant anyway, but it's good to have a little bit of a rant if that's what you want
Absolutely.
to call it. But I'd like to bring it back to the positive. I actually fully believe that music for the MC in drum and bass has never been more exciting than it is now. The opportunity to become a fully fledged artist and be on the live circuit and the studio and host and spit and
Yeah.
it's amazing. Everything's there for the taking. So
Yeah.
empower yourself is my message. Just don't be subservient to a DJ or a promoter or a manager or whatever. Empower yourself because there's so many different ways to do this thing.
Opportunity.
Mm.
I love that, Phil. That's and that's. I mean, if I was a young artist and I just heard you say that, that would be like the wind. That would be the wind in my sails to go.
Oh,
I'd love
wicked,
that. Yeah, it's
wicked.
brilliant. What a positive
My job
message to
here is
have.
done.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Where were you 25 years ago?
Oh, I'll tell you where I was sitting in my house smoking a massive
There
spliff,
you go. Yeah, right. Yeah, all part of it. It's all part of the
not
journey,
going
right?
out. Yeah,
All
man.
part of the journey.
So Oh, there's loads of see. This is what did I tell you before we started recording? There's
Yeah,
loads of different things that
I'm enjoying it. Yeah, far away.
haven't
I'm having a
touched
great
on.
time.
But you said something that I definitely don't want to just go past. You basically said that people assumed, or you kind of allowed them to assume, that you sort of took time out because you become a mother and
Mm.
family and etc. But really, it was a bit more closely related to this sort of management related bust up. So you've told us about the management thing. Don't need to go back into that. But what happened around this period then? So you're saying that you actually took some time out because of what happened.
Yeah, definitely did. I mean, I didn't think I'd make it back, to be honest with you. I had lost motivation. I lost faith. I thought, what's the point if someone's just going to swoop in and take all my hard work? And um, I I had to take a step back from it just to reevaluate everything. And in that time, I met my husband, and and we had our daughter a few years later. So it all was very serendipitous in that way. But I feel like I needed to step away to reevaluate everything, and I'm glad I did, and I'm glad that I mean, Mark has been an amazing supporter of my career, and giving me the right advice when I need it, and just being there, and sometimes just not saying anything, or just letting me vent and letting me get all this frustration out, because otherwise it might have come out in different ways. And certainly, I think I did take a turn before I met my husband. It was certainly going on a very self-destructive path that obviously is linked to touring as well, and to being on the road, and we don't look after ourselves. And but I'm so glad that I've done an about face from that, and now it's um I'm on a really health conscious journey, not just for my career but for my daughter. And it all ties in together with my coming back to music with this newfound energy, which is fueled by wanting to make my daughter proud, and wanting to keep myself healthy in this career to have a longer career,
Yeah, yeah.
with a new mindset.
How long a period of time are we talking here? You know, the time out period. How long was it?
I mean, it's gonna have been more than 5 years.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
about that.
could have easily just not gone back to
Yeah.
music, right?
Look, I had the occasional thing where I do vocals on a track, or I do the odd gig here and there, but I wasn't in it mentally or emotionally. Or
How were you feeling at that time? What emotions were you experiencing?
I'd become really numb to it all, because I had felt so disillusioned by it, and it was very um what's the word? When you're jaded by it, yeah, I've just felt like I was living under this glass dome, and I couldn't feel anything about it. And that's the last thing I wanted when it came to music. I wanted to feel everything, whether it was good emotions or bad emotions. I was feeling nothing about it.
Right.
And that was the worst thing for me, to have to feel nothing rather than anything. Because I spent a lot of time feeling angry, which wasn't the right emotion. And I spent a lot of time thinking that it would last forever, the way that I thought it was going to last, and it didn't. So to be completely numb was a really strange feeling for me. I had to get something back inside of me to get myself going again. And thank God it's happened. And hopefully, long may it continue. But it's a very different approach um, that I'm experiencing or living than I did when I started, or even in the middle, or at any point in my career. It's a very different approach now.
You said the word jaded. Do you feel that
Mm,
you kind of had a take, because you talked a bit about touring and doing like more corporate kind of gigs and things like this? It sounds to me like you had a bit of a taste of like the inside of the machine, almost, of like the industry.
yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, touring with Adam, with Calvin, was an eye opener in that sense, because obviously it was very major label driven. And, you got to see all these bands that you saw in the charts in real life, and people, the way they spoke, the way they act when the camera isn't on them, and it did drive a few things home for me. But again, because I was in that, um, we were all drinking a lot, we were getting on it a lot, and we didn't allow ourselves to be present in the moment for long enough to understand it. But you knew when it was uncomfortable, or you knew when it was something you were like, it's a bit weird, wasn't it? Like, why is this happening? Why is that happening? And yeah, I knew it wasn't the world I wanted to be in at all. I just had a mate who I wrote a big song with, and we happened to, um, take it to corners of music that I probably wouldn't have been exposed to. But is that the world that I wanted to be a part of? Absolutely not. No.
So, what kind of places, venues, and other artists were you around at this point when you were touring with Calvin Harris?
Well, you're talking like they called them the top 10, aren't they?
Okay.
So yeah, top 5, top
Like
10 artists. That's what
Sugar Babes.
it's
I
funny
don't know. I thought Sugar Babes, but
that
like them kind of artists, like
they
big.
were around at some point. Yeah, I mean, you're
Yeah.
talking about Example and Sheeran, Tiny Temper,
Okay.
yeah, Florence, you know, all of them, all the big
Wow.
cats. Yeah. Hmm.
Did you have the opportunity slash platform to perform your own music? Like break down,
No,
like
no,
do me
I
a
was
favor, what you were doing. Like we step on stage with Calvin Harris on some of these tours. What did it look like?
So I did BVs for him. I did BVs for all the tracks and also performed the
Oh,
female parts. So because I'm on Flashback, we hadn't done Thinking About You yet. This was pre-Thinking About You. So we'd done Flashback on his first album, and I did Ready for the Weekend. All the things that needed
amazing.
a vocal was me.
And BVs are backing vocals, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
Hitting me with your terminology there.
BVs. Yeah.
BVs.
Right.
Wow, I didn't know that. See, this is why I love doing having these
Yeah.
conversations because I didn't know that.
Mm, yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
What
We
was it
we
like being
went
in the
we went
studio
everywhere.
then? Like in terms of I know I'm flipping about a bit here, but going into the studio. So I'm guessing well, did you get to go to like these high end studios? Like when people think of recording studio and they see these big, fancy mixing desks and all this, was it like that, or was it?
I've done those. I've done those with artists. So for myself, I've worked on people's albums where we've been involved with these big studios. But at that time, no, we were just touring. It was straight up. It was grueling. We were on a tour bus and um, just everywhere. It was, whole summers spent wake up in one place and then fall asleep in another.
Tour bus vibe,
Yeah,
yeah. And
tour
other
bus. I was
supporting
the
acts,
only
like who?
woman as well on a bus
Oh
full of
wow, I
15
bet.
men. Yeah,
I bet
yeah.
it was.
That was
Yeah,
it was an yeah, it was an
right.
experience.
Your eyes. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
What? So who was supporting? Like you? So it was you and Calvin Harris, and then was there other people that you kind of was sort of
well, we
regularly
we
linking
do
with?
yeah, we do these big shows, and there it was just all big artists. Or we did this tour called Big Day Out in Australia, so it was the same. So you had like Kasabian and all these people, Lily Allen, people like that, and we'd all take the same show. It's like a circus, and it just went to all these different locations, but it was
Sick.
the same people essentially that were doing the
Okay.
shows. Yeah.
And I know there's a link there between you and Messi and DJ Fresh, right? Tell me about that.
Yeah, 100%. It's so funny because I remind Dan of this all the time and we laugh about it, but I met Dan Fresh very early on, in those days when we all used to do rumba and all and I remember him being such a serious guy, serious cat, and he was always a bit cold. And I've met him since then, and we become really good friends. And I'm on his album, and we I suggested Messi to him when he was looking for an MC for his tour, and it all just fell into place that way. And I remember saying to him, I was like, "Dad, do you remember like back in the?" He's like, "No, was I? I'm so sorry." Like I never. But it's funny how we always take things personally, and we never think that maybe that's someone's going through something, or maybe that it's for me, at least I always take things very personally. That's my first port of call, but I've learned to take a step back and go, hang on a minute, maybe it's not me, because every time I bring it up with people, and he was just like, no, 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 that not at all. Like, and he's the nicest, loveliest guy, and such a talented person. You won't come across many people as musical, as fresh, and as invested in production, in outcome, in he's so serious about music. It's a beautiful thing to watch.
What he did for the underground and then for the mainstream. Yeah,
Unreal.
it can't be tested, man.
No, absolutely.
And I had, as I'm sure you know, I had Messi on the podcast a few episodes back, and he had some
Yes, I
great
did see
stories
that.
about touring with Fresh and stepping out on stage to like 500,000 people at
Yes.
T4 on the beach and stuff, getting into private jets. And one
Yeah.
thing Jay told me actually is that we had a fun conversation about just like the madness of like he had to like do Dizzy Rascal's bars on stage and stuff like that. Just
Crazy, isn't it?
because this is what I'm interested in when I said like being inside the machine a bit more. Like underground, the world of drum and bass is pretty underground anyway, but especially like the underground bit of drum and bass is like leagues away from this world that you're talking to. So I've never had
100%.
a taste of this world. That's why I'm interested in it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard to describe. I mean, when you're in it, you don't really think about it. You're making me take a step back now, and I'm seeing it in it from a different perspective, to try and describe it. But it's when you're in it, you just go with it. It's just that it's work at the end of the day. You're being
Mhm.
paid to do a job, you know? So you put aside any of and really that for me, the artists, as amazing as they all are, these aren't the people that I get starstruck by, because if it was
Yeah,
Nas or Mob Deep or The Roots, Erica
yeah,
Badu,
yeah,
it'd be a different story. But these are your peers, essentially. These are people who are also trying to make a living at the music, and um, a lot of the time people are very self-absorbed in that world. And I think when you spend your days getting smoke blown up your ass, it's hard not to be
yeah, yeah.
self-absorbed. I think very few people are down to earth in that sphere. Um, or maybe they come across as one way because they're in the public eye. But it's been great for me, because, as you say, I've had a taste of both sides of that, and this is where maybe I can be of use, I suppose, in some way to people who need advice on that level. So yeah, I guess I've never really thought about it like that. So
Were you
appreciate
able
you
to make
for
a decent living from touring?
no. No,
No,
no, I can tell you. I mean, you got 100 quid a stage. That's every time you accept on stage, you got 100 quid, and I
really.
believe it's still pretty much the same for featured musicians or backing vocalists. I don't think that's changed very much in that world.
Wow,
Yeah,
100 quid, man.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Which,
because like
look,
we
at the
said
end of the
earlier,
day,
it's not all about the money. But I was
I
just
would no, I
interested,
would
just
yeah,
curious.
I wouldn't sniff at it. If even now, if someone said to me, I'll give you, if a friend asked me to come and jump on the mic at a drum and bass night for 150 quid, I mean, that's still it's good money, it's not bad money. But to make a living, it's not making a living. You're doing that for the love.
It's the bit behind the scenes that you touched on, isn't it? Like the tour bus, the travel, to finish a show, you get straight back, no sleep,
Yes,
this, that, the other.
yes,
That's the
yes.
bit that starts to the being on stage for 100 quid is the easy bit essentially.
That's it, exactly. That people forget that you're getting paid really for the whole block of of work. It's
Yeah,
not
which when
just
you break that
being
down
on.
is like you know we'd all make more money, and if you did, I don't look at it like this. I'm sure you don't, but if you did look at it like that, then like the hour pro rata rate, like for that kind of thing, is low.
And don't forget the emotional side to it as well, because I mean, I don't know about you, but you're thinking about it the whole time. Especially when I was doing my own shows, I would spend days and days and days thinking about everything, down to the lighting, down to what you're going to wear, how you're going to step out, what you're going to say,
Mhm.
getting yourself emotionally prepared, making sure your voice is up to it. So there's all these things that lead up to a performance that that's part of your work, but those things never really get any, they don't really get acknowledged.
Did you have any particular, or did you have any particular pre gig rituals? You're just talking about getting in performance mode and in the zone.
Yeah,
What kind of things?
I used to have a big glass of red wine at one point. That was my
Yeah.
ritual. And but it's funny because I remember Diane Charlemagne, God bless her, like her and I did a few shows together, and she was also a very big influence. And she was like a mum to me, I suppose, on many levels, and more than a friend. And she turned it around for me, in the sense that the self-destructive nature that I had coming into shows, she turned that. She kind of shook that out of me. So she came to a few shows with me and she just would say, there's no need for you to do that. I don't do after the show, have a little shot or something or whatever. But she'd be like, beforehand, you know, make sure you're on point, make sure you're in the moment and all this stuff. And yeah, she had a really big influence on me in that sense of
Okay. Oh,
making
that's
sure that,
interesting, man.
yeah,
What was her vibe then? So she's saying, you know,
Diane.
what did she do? Like, so how did she prep for a show, or how did she help you in that role as someone that's giving you some advice? Like, what kind of things was she saying to focus
Warm ups, like you said earlier with the
on?
shows.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
never did warm ups or anything. Diane would come in my dressing room and she'd be like, "Come on, then go. Like we're gonna do some warm ups." And just being, she'd say to me like, "You want to step out there and remember what you did so that you can either make it better or to know what it was that worked or didn't work or whatever." And it's funny because I did have that mindset very early on, and I lost it somewhere along the way. But she just reminded me and she reminded me of the power that I had and the what I could achieve if I just believed in myself, which I think I forgot along the way for various reasons. But she was very much the person that kind of reminded me what I could do.
That's wonderful to have someone like that in your corner.
She is extraordinary. Yeah, yeah, definitely.
And for people that don't know, will you just break down some of the music that Diane Charlemagne
Well,
sang?
if we're talking about drum and bass, it's one of the most seminal records in drum and bass history is Inner City Life,
Mhm.
um, that she wrote and recorded. And you know, she did a lot of she came up on the Manchester scene, so she did a lot of funk and soul before that and house. She's toured with so many people, you know, Netsky and Moby, and she's just been a part of dance music and the culture. And her voice has been such a seminal sound on so many records that we might hear, and people won't even know that it was Diane. I
Yeah.
think even she wasn't even credited on Inner City Life until posthumously when they re-released it and they put her on the
Really?
record, but she hadn't been, yeah, she didn't get her flowers until it was too late, really.
So to your knowledge, did she write that vocal? Or
Yeah,
write
oh,
the lyrics?
100% she did. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
wow, okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yes, she
'Cause you
did.
just kind of
She did.
assume that, the Goldie just because he's such a creative
Yeah, no, no, that
genius,
was
you know what I mean?
Diane.
That he just kinda does
Yeah,
it all, so that's really interesting.
yeah, Diane wrote that.
And I remember listening I'm not gonna be able to remember it, but just listening to stuff the other day and someone saying, "Oh, this is Diane Charlemagne." It's like some garage tune or just
Yeah,
stuff that people would know that if you're into this kind of music, and it's like, "Oh,
absolutely.
wow,
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't know that was her." Like,
Very much so. I
crazy.
mean, I think she was also part of a generation of vocalists that didn't get credited for, you know, there was a point in the mid 90s where you had all these records coming out, and there were even people who'd put someone in a video to mime the words because maybe the person who sang the song didn't look the part,
Yeah.
you know?
Oh,
There
man.
was all that going on. And isn't that crazy? That's crazy to me.
It is until you lift the veil and just remember that this is an
Yeah.
industry and like you know better than me having seen through that veil during what we were talking about the touring and the commercial
Yeah,
pop world and stuff. So
absolutely.
yeah, it's super interesting. When you were when you were getting a taste of this more commercial music world with Calvin Harris and that era, did you have aspirations at that point to maybe branch out into more commercial music yourself, or was it
Never,
always
not
D&B
even
that you
for
wanted to
not
push?
not even for a second. I didn't.
Really?
There's what I did. What I would have loved is, and perhaps we did that to an extent, but I would have loved for people to see drum and bass and to love drum and bass the way that I did. But I didn't want it to be spoiled in a sense. So I was still quite protective. I shouldn't be. I'm not the gatekeeper of drum and bass, and I shouldn't ever have felt that way. But I never had aspirations to be. But what I did have, unfortunately, was a manager who tried to make me think that that's what I wanted, and for a while pushed me into that avenue. And that was probably one of the most regrettable times in my career in terms of doing something or dressing in ways or performing at shows that I think back now, like, why did I even agree to that?
Yeah.
Why? Because I trusted somebody who told me that they knew better or that they had my best interests at heart. And that to me is what that world embodies. And that's not
Yeah.
something that I should ever really have been a part of. But to see the positive in it, the way, as you say, at least now I know.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
I
Of
was a part
course.
of something that I can give advice on now because I know what goes on.
Absolutely. What kind of route direction was the management trying to take you down
Um,
artistically? You know, I
that
mean,
in itself. So every time you go in the studio, you can't write just for the sake of writing. Is this going to be on radio? Is Radio One going to pick this up? Is this going to be a top 10? It was that constant, pressure.
of what genre?
Um, uh, well, I mean, what is pop? What are we defining pop as? Are we just defining it as
Good question. I don't
music
know.
that is popular,
Popular
like that
music,
sells
innit?
a lot?
Really, I
Just
think
to sell a
it's
lot, to be popular, you know? Doesn't
okay.
the genre
Well,
of music didn't really.
how would you describe the genres that you were sort of maybe being guided towards
I
at
mean,
the time?
my album, which I love, the only album I've ever written is my album, The Real, which I wrote in spite of the pressure that I was getting from this person. And there is drum and bass on there, there's dubstep on there, and there's some records that I'm really, really proud of. Had I maybe had a bit more artistic freedom, it might have been a bit more of an underground record. But because it was very much, I had that pressure of, is there a verse, chorus, middle eight on it? Is it
Yeah, yeah,
radio? Is there, it was very, I was in a chokehold with it. So I still managed to put out something that I'm proud of, but it was under very stressful circumstances.
yeah. Okay. And what kind of producers were you working with on that album?
Um, well, the main producer that I worked with was Will Sims. This is Tinks. And he's
For anyone
you're right.
listening and not watching, then a cat has just appeared.
Will was the main architect of the album. Come on, Chris, let's get you down. Come on, get down. It's not your time. Off you go. But I worked with, obviously, Camo and Crooked were on the album. Funk Case was on the album. And I had one feature on the album, and the only feature was P Money.
What?
Yeah. P Money
Come
was the
on.
only person
King P
featured. I
Money,
mean,
yeah?
aside from the fact, if you want to consider producers, they're not features to me, they're the producers. I had Zero T was on there. He did a track for the album. So yeah, it was a really fun project to do with all these different people. But again, I think also the person who was managing me really limited my interaction with them. I would have liked to have been more involved rather than just being, for example, sent the beat or,
Yeah.
not being able to go in the studio with them. I just had to record it myself. And,
Oh,
I
really?
was
So you
very
didn't
much.
get to link with P Money in person?
No, that we did. Yeah, we did. He
Did
came
you?
through.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he came
Sick.
through. And there's a guy I've got a big up every time, but Chemo is who is an artist in his own right, and obviously you'll know him from producing all the Terra Firma, Kalashnikov, all the UK hip hop
Mhm.
records that we love, Jest, and you know, um, Four Owls, and all these amazing seminal people in the UK hip hop scene. But Dave and I started working together 15 plus years ago, and he'd never worked with a vocalist, just rappers, and I'd never worked with a vocal engineer. And to this day, he's my vocal engineer, and we've kind of been together through this whole experience of learning how to work within, for I'll send him a beat and I'll say, this is what the producer wants, so let's do it. And he knows how to make me sound good, and he knows what I like. But he had a studio in South London. Him and Jess shared a studio, and P Money or Paris came through to record his bars then. Um, and it was amazing. He's just laser focused, and we are still very good friends to this day. But he's one of those people that has an incredible work ethic. He's just such a professional, and he's so good. He's just so good at what he
He
does.
is old.
But no, it was the other. It was more that he'd negotiated things on my behalf, and he'd spoken to these producers, and maybe promised people things that I don't know whether he came through on ultimately,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I was just being given the back end of things. And I just was so desperate for it to be something that was just creative and easy and um unpretentious, I suppose, and just from the heart. And I felt like he'd brought a side to it that I didn't really want to have as a part of the
Okay.
creative process.
Yeah, it sounded like it tainted it a bit for you.
Yeah, right, exactly that.
Talking about creative process, how would you describe your creative process in terms of the studio?
I think it all depends on the situation. So, for example, yesterday I was in a session. and it was myself and another singer-songwriter and a producer. The producer was getting on with it, and the singer-songwriter and I were just there, writing lyrics together and vibing together. If it's just me, sometimes I'll wake up in the middle of the night and I'll have lyrics in my head and I'll just write them down, and think I've got to put that in a song someday. I might hear an instrumental and think, gosh, yeah, that's made me think I want to put something onto it. It all depends. It depends on where it's coming from and what angle I'm approaching it, but it can differ. It can differ.
Yeah, I'm really interested in this. How would you
Yeah.
compare and contrast the being in a room with people and
Mm,
creating there and then
mm.
compared to you being at home with a beat playing on loop for an hour and doing it that way? What comes up for you in that regard?
I think when you're in session, there's always the time constraint, and you're very wary of the fact that you're working on other people's time. So you're always thinking, right, we've got a 4 hour block here. Let's see what we can achieve without being forcing it too much. Or, there's a balance,
Yeah.
there's a delicate balance that you have. I'm sure you know, where you have to make sure that everyone's happy, that everyone's included. And it's a really kind of democratic way of working on a track.
I don't
Whereas if
know,
it's,
actually. I
oh,
don't know.
no?
Not really,
No?
because this is why I'm so interested, and sorry to jump in there, but
No, no, please do.
I do not have a huge amount of experience of working in studios with people. I've certainly never been to like a writing session. Like that's
Would you
foreign
like
territory
to?
for me. Yeah, definitely, man. I've
Okay, we'll
got in the
make it
studio with
happen.
someone recently. Okay, well that
Yeah?
wasn't me like a crafty way of
No,
me
no,
trying
no,
to jump
no, we
in, by
have
the
to
way.
make it happen. No, I didn't
But
realize that.
oh,
No.
amazing.
That
Okay,
that
well let's talk about that.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
for
yeah,
me,
stick a
I've
pin
made
in
a,
it,
a
for
point
sure.
this year of so for instance, next week I booked a whole day in the studio in Bristol. I'm driving 7 hour round trip to go there
Oh, wow. Yeah.
because purely because I want to be in the room with people because I think it will
Yes.
make a difference to the magic. I've spent 15 plus years just me in my
Yeah.
studio, all the music out there. Send me the file, no problem. I'll write
Yeah.
something. Maybe it takes
Yeah.
me a day, maybe it takes me a year. Record it,
Yeah.
send it back. It comes out, it doesn't come out. They butcher the vocal, they don't. It's this, it's that. I'm really not finding that. Sorry, that sounded a bit. I'm not complaining, by the way. Like
No, no,
the,
but that's the
the
world we
butchering
come
vocal bit
from.
doesn't
Yeah,
often
yeah, yeah.
happen. But
Yeah.
most of the tracks I've done, I'm really happy with. But I'm a bit bored of that format these days. And it's like,
Yeah,
oh,
time
okay.
to
So you're
branch
you're sitting
out.
there talking to me about writing sessions, being in the room, right people. We've got a 4 hour block. And I'm thinking,
Yeah.
to your point, nah, like, I'm not
No, okay,
familiar with that
okay.
world. So
Yeah.
that's interesting. Are you able to say, you don't have to, are you able to say who you're in the studio with?
Yeah, so yesterday I was in with Charlotte Haining
Oh, okay.
and, Brad Fidelis, Brad Ballou of The Next Men.
Okay. Oh, next. Okay.
Yeah.
I've known Next Men.
Yeah.
Yeah. And obviously I'm familiar with
Yeah, well, Brad is
Charlotte. I don't know her personally. Yeah.
he's an incredible producer, and he's obviously like across the board magical, talented person. And Charlotte is incredible. She's a beautiful singer and songwriter. So I'm exploring working with them. We had a session with Eva Lazarus, the four of us. So the two I just mentioned and Eva last month. So we're trying a little thing, the four of
Wicked.
us. Yeah,
Yeah, man. So
very
do you
exciting.
also write for other artists, or are
Yes,
you the
definitely.
artist? You
No,
so
no,
you
we
tap
write for
into
other.
that world.
Yeah, we were writing yesterday. We were writing a track for a Danny Minogue pitch. Funnily enough,
What?
so
No
we'll
way.
get pictures. Yeah, yeah, we'll get pictures through from publishers, and they'll go, "Oh, Danny's looking for a house inspired track with a vocal like this," and we just get our heads together and see what we can come up with. I mean,
So
that's
you
the
go in
bread
the
and
room and
butter.
sorry, go on. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. If you
Okay.
can, if you can nail it, if you can get a pitch and then get, a cut or a sync or an advert, that's where you're going to
So do
get
you
paid.
write to a brief,
Yeah, right,
or
exactly.
they've given you a brief to
Yeah,
of?
exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
100%.
And then it's so you build up like a catalog of music that
Absolutely.
could just
Yeah,
be
that's
dished out
it.
to people. Is that how it
Yeah.
works?
Yeah, exactly that. So I have a
That's
back
mad.
catalog of music which released and unreleased that my publishers they're connected to, and if they see something that matches, they'll send, "Oh, look, we've got Aya's written these tracks. What do you think?" And they pitch them. Yeah, that's how it works.
Wow. Could do a sub
Mm.
episode about publishing. I'm embarrassed
Yes,
to say how little I know about publishing,
you
considering
should.
I've got
Yeah,
over
definitely.
45 releases out there since I started recording in drum and bass. I need to understand
It's
publishing a
so
bit more.
important. It's so important. Distribution, publishing and distribution, definitely really important to know about.
Yeah. Because I don't know Charlotte Haining personally, but I've heard her. I think it was her it's definitely her anyway, talking about like sitting in a writing session with Becky Hill, for instance, and there'd be like 7, 8, 9 people there, just all writing away different melodies and top lines, and it's so interesting because when you're in this underground world in inverted commas, you think it is just like you in the studio grinding out these
Yeah.
bars,
Like
and it's like,
Eminem on
hold on,
Stan.
there's
Yeah.
actually
Yeah.
like other worlds that exist where people are creating together and like
Yeah.
banking music, and just it's fascinating. Yeah, it
It
really
is
is.
fascinating. I think there also can be a point where it could be a case of too many cooks, but
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
um and especially when it comes to mainstream music. I mean, Katy Perry, for example, Raw. You remember the track Raw?
Yeah.
That was written by about, I think, 13 people, and they broke it down to even syllables, how
Ugh,
syllables come together and how it was so clinical. And there is a real skill in that, obviously, to have this, but then equally that's majorly pushed by labels. So
yeah.
whatever is popular is whatever has the most money behind it to generate that buzz or get on the radio or you know so I think there's something to be said, excuse me, there's something to be said for me. I like the when people hear a song that I've written for myself and think, hey, we really like that for, as you said, someone like Becky Hill or whoever, because that's something that I've written from a place that means something, as opposed to something that's, been strategically engineered to fit
Yeah, it's not just
a
music by
certain.
numbers.
There you go.
Yeah. Here's an interesting one for you that's just come into
Yeah.
my head. You're talking about that Katy Perry tune, like people are writing syllables. Is
Yeah.
is that really that far removed from just getting AI to do it? Like, isn't there
But
an
there's
argument there?
human, they're humans. No,
You could
I
just say, "Oh
mean,
man, that sounds like really laborious and strategic, and like there's no soul in there." Like, just get AI
yeah,
to
I
do it. Come on,
suppose.
people, it'd be way
But they're
easier.
still human. They're still human beings. Although, having said that, and I had this conversation with Brad yesterday, we've been working with AI forever in electronic music. It is AI. We're talking about a different type of AI now. So let's not forget that electronic music in itself is AI.
Yeah, so in the 90s,
But
or probably no,
yeah,
what about pre-90s, like 80s, 70s, whatever, sampling probably would have been seen as the same way that AI.
you
I'm
see,
not pro
yeah.
AI, by the way. I'm neither. I'm just like, I use ChatGPT sometimes. I find it a bit of, it's really helpful. Like, I'm learning to use Ableton at the moment. When I get stuck, I just quickly put a screenshot in ChatGPT. It says boom, 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 and it's great. But I've also had loads of times where it's taken me down rabbit holes, and it's just wrong. It's just telling me the wrong
I
thing, and I
think
followed it, and I'm like, no, and I get really
I
angry with it.
this is it. I hate to say it, but I feel like you need to still pick and choose the things. So, for example, I'm personally like I have my gripes with ChatGPT, but I saw the other day, for example, a list. I don't need all this stuff, but um, we just like ChatGPT because it structures it in a way that feels human as a
Mhm.
response. Because
Yeah,
if you
yeah,
put the same prompt into Google, you'll get the same answers, but in a very just
yeah.
points based way, or websites that talk about it, as opposed to,
Mhm.
hey, I'm so glad you asked that because
Yeah, yeah.
here's what I think. Oh, aren't you clever? That's a really good question to it makes you feel like, oh,
Falling in love
let's
with your
talk a
GPT.
human being. Yeah, and that's the rabbit hole, that you talk about. But it's we have to be wary and we have to pick and choose. And I say this to my daughter as well. And I say to her, look, if there's something you want to learn about, make sure that you're checking the source. So if you want to learn about animals, go on the National Geographic website, for example. Don't,
Yeah,
because there could be anyone can say anything about stuff. And same with music. You could put a prompt into an AI model that gives you absolute nonsense, or you could put a prompt into an AI model that sounds scarily like something that if you're trying to copy something popular or something that's worrying to me, because then is that the death of creativity, or can we use that to our advantage in a way that we harmoniously, as you say, the way that synths were introduced in the 80s and how we've managed to work them into using them in music.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Here's another interesting one for you, because you inhabit this
Yeah.
world of writing sessions and music libraries and all this kind of thing. So I've raised this before. Some people will be like, "Oh, he's going to go on about Vibes Cartel again," but sorry, I am. But I'm going to ask you this, right? So
Okay.
I remember hearing this podcast. I think it was Drink Champs. Anyway, whatever. Vibes
Okay.
Cartel was just saying with like zero fucks given that when he's in the studio, he's got a bag of people in there just writing his bars for him. And obviously he writes as well. He's, you know, he's a sick artist in his own right.
Right.
But and then it made me think at the time, wow, like there's this whole thing in like the world of MCs that, you know, you can't have, you've got to write your own bars. It's almost like in my head, until I started breaking it down, I was thinking it's just an unwritten rule. It's one of the part of the code book that we referenced earlier, that you just, you don't do other people's bars. Do you understand what I mean? It's like
Absolutely.
ghost
I and
writing is
I
frowned on and this kind of thing. But then someone else said to me, um, that's just like some macho bullshit, man. Like people just can use whatever tools are available to them. So my stance on it hasn't really changed. I don't think I would want to spit bars that someone else has written for me. But
exactly.
what do you think?
I think that it's an interesting one because I agree with you. I think that there are certain things that are sacred and that should be a personal and that's the difference between the singing and emceeing thing that we talk about. So if you're a major label artist and you're having songs written for you, is that the same as being a rapper having rhymes written for you? And I don't think so. I think that we've made the music industry has made singing and songs so marketable, and so they've become a commodity, which means that they can be fashioned and built by anybody to be performed by a figurehead that isn't necessarily the creative, it's just the face of it.
Yeah.
Whereas with emceeing, that still is, it's such a personal thing that to bring that aspect into it would be to be destructive to the culture, really. You know,
Mm.
you're going against the essence of what being an
Like you're going
MC
against the
is.
pillars that it was built on
Right.
almost.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think the way you've summarised it then is puts it beautifully, and I would agree with that because you said it. I think you said the word commodity. I was thinking, yeah, it's more
Mm,
like those types of songs are like a product.
right.
But then, is there like just purely playing devil's advocate? Is there anything wrong in like an MC driven product? Like we're all here
Well,
to like
they're
make a living,
around.
right?
They're
Well, yeah,
around. I mean, you know, there are people that don't write their own rhymes that are, you know, top
but
10
they get
selling artists.
slated. They
Something
get slated.
you can't have it both ways, right?
Who was it? Like, was it Drake that was people saying that? I'm not really plugged
Ugh.
into the US hip hop,
I'll,
but
I'll tell
someone
you.
wrote his bars like ghostwriter.
I'll tell you. Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure. I never understood that whole hype there, to be honest with you. But
Nah.
think about think about
Careful what you say. He's coming on the podcast next week.
yeah, right. Yeah, I know. Yeah, you can quote me on that. You can. But I was thinking about, you know, if you think about someone like Mad Villain, yeah, and you know, he famously said that like he'd send people to shows wearing his mask, and promoters would get really upset with him because they'd be like, no, we paid for you to come, and he'd send someone to go and perform the songs, you know, to mime, because his whole thing was, what, you're not coming for me as a person. This is a culture, it's music. If you're into the music, who gives a shit who's at the front of
Yeah.
it, in terms of like, that shouldn't be the
Yeah.
focus of I don't know how to explain it. So you're listening to the music no matter who is there at the front of the stage. Like I could be um anybody looking like anything, and you should love it just as much as if I was looking like something that you think I should look like. Does that
Mm.
make sense?
Yeah,
And
it
he wanted to
makes
turn
sense.
that
Yeah.
on its head, where it's just like, don't expect, because the music should speak for itself, you know? And that's the, you know, that stuck with me. I thought that's, yeah, that makes sense. Although
There's
annoying
so
for
many different
promoters.
ways to look at all this stuff, isn't there?
Absolutely,
As
yeah.
ever, it is mad. Oh, what was
Mm,
I going to ask you just then? Oh yeah, miming. Oh, we're
yeah.
really getting deep into some different topics here, but I'm
Yes,
loving it because you've
yes,
got a different
yes.
take on things to
Yeah.
some of my other guests. Have you ever mimed? Would you ever mime?
Never. I've never
No.
mimed in my life.
Have
Never.
you been asked to mime?
I don't think so. No, I've done vocals for people who've used my vocals and mimed to my voice before, though. There are tracks that I've done
Say that again.
vocals for. So I've recorded vocals for people and they've used my voice saying that it's theirs.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Don't
Yeah.
worry, I'm not
Yeah.
gonna. I'll go on. Are you gonna name names or you don't want to?
I can send you the track and you can see what you think. But
I'm
but
talking about
you know,
now. The
Uh,
listener, because everyone will be like, "Oh, why has he not asked her who it was?" So I'm asking you. Don't have to say, but
um, Oh there was a no. I will say actually because it's kind of common knowledge. But I did a track with Calvin back in the day that was for Cheryl Cole, and he left my vocals on the track to the point where if you listen back to it now, you can clearly hear me on there. And
oh
when
my
I've
god,
seen her perform it on stage, it's the weirdest thing because she's singing, but my voice is coming out of
it's
her
your
mouth.
voice. What Cheryl
Yeah,
Cole tune?
it's called "Call My Name." And now that I've said it to you, you're gonna when you hear it, you're just gonna
Oh
be
my
like,
god,
"Oh my
I'm
god, yeah, I
straight
can hear
after
Ayah
this
on that."
podcast. I'm gonna go and check
Yeah,
that out. So do you
yeah.
get royalties for that?
You get performance on it. So,
Right.
like there's publishing and there's performance royalties. Performance
Mhm.
royalties is the performance that you give,
Yeah.
so when it gets played on radio, there's a portion of it that's performance and a
Yeah. That's
portion of it that's
PRS, right?
publishing. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
PPL is performance. PRS is
PPL.
publishing. Yeah,
Right.
it's a lot, isn't it?
Another
Yeah.
time, help me,
Yeah.
please.
Yeah, 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 I will. Yeah, yeah, I will. Of course, anytime.
That's crazy, Cheryl Cole. Like you really have hobnobbed with some of the stars, haven't you?
Tried, yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's just so
From my
fascinating.
sins.
So with the miming thing, I tell you what. So I know we're going off on loads of tangents. So I'm just going to ask you
No,
this
it's okay.
about the
I'm
miming
really
thing,
enjoying this. This is
and unless
great.
something else comes up, then I'm not committing here that I'm not going to go down more tangents. But maybe we'll bring it back to kind of what you're up to in the present
Hmm.
day. Okay, but anyway,
Yeah, we might have to.
miming.
You might
Go
have
on.
to cut out these bits with the cat jumping on the
No, we'll
table.
keep the cat in. No, we'll keep the cat in. So with miming, well, again, I'm not digging anyone out here. In fact, throwing shade, that's like a terminology people use, isn't it? I'm not throwing shade
Sure.
because
No, you're not.
I'm going to talk about an artist who is one of my favorite artists, and I think one of the sickest. Listen, one of the sickest artists in the UK, maybe worldwide at the moment. Ira. You familiar
She's
with
so
Ira, right?
good.
Badadan,
Yeah,
and obviously sick tracks with Killer P and Untold, just sick. But he mimes, and
he does.
I found it
I
quite
just
odd.
said
Yeah,
she
what?
then by mistake. I didn't mean she.
So I
It's
was,
he.
so I'm not. I'm just curious about it. And really, I
Are
suppose
you serious? I
the
never
only
knew
person that
that.
could talk to me about this is Ira, right? But I was watching. Well, look, this is what I'm going to say, right? So, I was watching. Was it Glastonbury? It's a big festival. Chasing Status and Ira.
Do you
And
know what? I think.
my son
Yeah,
said to me, "Dad, like, because he really liked the tune Badadan, and he was like, Dad, this feels weird, like." And I was like, "He's
I
miming."
love that.
And then
He
someone,
knew.
I'm not going to hot anyone up here, but someone well respected within the scene and on the circuit said, "Oh yeah," because I don't know how we got onto it. I can't even think now, but he was like, "Yeah, no, it's just like a kind of common known thing that he mimes." But I don't
That's
get it because
crazy,
he's
isn't
got
it?
like the sickest. His voice, like it's this one of
I
the sickest voices I've ever heard, like that kind of
I
ragga,
wonder.
dance hall,
Yeah,
sick energy.
yeah.
So I'd love to find out from him. Like, I'm Ira, if by some weird,
If you're
crazy
watching, let us know.
open
I think
sliding doors
in his
moment,
defense,
I'm not digging you out. I just love to know like what the decision making process is behind that. Is it a management thing saying you got to do the mime?
I know that when it comes sometimes with big large scale events, the reason why they do that is because sometimes maybe the sound setup isn't very good or they haven't done a sound check or sometimes they'll pre-record it before the show and then mime it live because to give it that feel that it's live. So they have sang it, but it's
Mm,
been pre-recorded, in that day because they're worried about technical problems during the performance, or
right.
maybe the sound wasn't quite right, or
Okay.
the mic wasn't picking up, or maybe the DJs are worried, or the whoever is the main act is worried that it might not go right on the night, kind of thing. I know that they do it for that reason, but
Okay.
I don't understand why it would be for an MC, specifically someone with a good voice and a performer, why you'd need to do that, unless they were worried about technical
Yeah,
issues.
it's a good insight. I kind of,
Mm.
well, I can only guess. The funny
But
thing
how
is,
clever is your boy for noticing that something was
yeah,
off?
because he was like, "Dad, this feels this something's not right about this," and
He's so
he
clever.
was spot on.
He's so
It
clever,
cracked me up what you said
absolutely.
about it. But the funny thing
100%.
is, on the flip side of it, one of my favourite ever MC related memories is being at Beaverworks in Leeds. I played
What
in the
funny
drum and
bit?
bass room, and I managed to go into the Khan and Neek were playing in the main warehouse room, like sort of dark dubstep kind of vibes, and just walking through the crowd. I'm just literally standing behind the decks, near the decks anyway, and then you
Yeah.
see the crowd sort of parting, and who's walking through? Ira, Killer
Right.
P,
Okay.
Jamaica, and I'm like,
Right.
oh shit, here we go. The
The
funny thing is,
Trinity.
they didn't see me standing there, so I had to kind of back into the corner as they came through, and then it felt really awkward because I'm just in the corner behind
Yeah.
them, like with nowhere to go, but they didn't know I was there, so I couldn't sort of 10 minutes later go, excuse me, can I
Yeah.
just get out of the way? But anyway, I just
Yeah.
watched them absolutely destroy the place.
Were they
So
good?
like, so you know that like Ira could, for me, he is like the UK's Vibes Cartel. Like he's got that energy.
Right.
He could smack it any genre. Just
Well, I
people
mean,
that got a voice that just sounds sick.
he
Whatever they say,
started
it
a
sounds
chain
sick.
of events as well in drum and bass
Okay,
vocal. Well, I mean, now everyone's trying to get that really bassy kind of
but
guttural sound on their
how
records
do you
where,
get that voice? I know like
you
kind of
don't.
Flowdan's kind
Flow
of
Dan's got
your
it.
original deep voice bad man, but
Yeah.
where does that come from? Do you think there's things? Oh shit, I'm starting
I
to
think
think now.
you're right though. It is a
There's
very
things you can do
ragga
to get your voice to sound like that.
influence. You just have it. You either have it or you don't, right? I don't think they put it on. Do
No, no,
you?
you can't. Well, no, because I know he doesn't.
Although
Because
I
look,
don't think they don't speak like that. They probably speak differently, like
I
when
know he doesn't
they're
because I've literally like was stood about 10 centimeters behind him in this
yeah,
rave.
yeah,
What I was just like, oh my god, these geezers are insane. Like
yeah,
that's
right.
so good. But I
Yeah.
just sometimes wonder, like, is there things? How does someone get their voice? And it's like
That
Rico's the
booming,
same,
yeah.
just like gritty, growly.
It's
Rah.
amazing, isn't it? I know.
Anyway,
Raw,
um,
raw.
it's very raw. But yeah, but there seems to be a stigma around these things we're talking about. Ghostwriting for rappers, and miming seem to have a stigma attached to them. And do you know what? I actually think,
I
in
don't know.
some respects,
I don't think that's a bad thing. I mean, like I say, I think the only the times where it should, but unfortunately, because it's used a lot of times because people can't perform in the sense when it's used in the pop arena, it's
yeah,
probably because the people can't be trusted
cover
to
cover it
get their
up.
shit together, yeah, to do it, so
Yeah,
they
yeah,
cover it
yeah,
up.
yeah.
But there's no need for it in our line of work. I don't see why that would be. I mean,
No.
I've seen a lot of people singing over their vocals
Hmm.
in recent times. But then there are people like Emily Mackis, who's amazing. She's an amazing singer anyway. So you can hear that she still sounds amazing but I'd rather they take out, why just do a PA mix for
Like
her?
a PA mix. Yeah, yeah. Just have the little ad
Yeah,
libs left in or whatever.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. Why don't people just, that's what we used to do. Or I'd tell the DJs or the producers, can you just do me a version with me turned down? So when I
Yeah.
perform it, there's still the backing vocal there, which gives you your timing in
Hmm.
case you lose it. And also gives you a little kind of just a little something to, so
Yeah,
your
yeah.
voice doesn't sound so alone. But just to turn it down, I think it makes it difficult for singers as well to have to sing over their own voice. Like you
Yeah,
can't.
definitely.
And also
Definitely.
when you've sang it in the studio, you're putting it through tuners and processors and everything. And
Hmm.
no human can replicate that exactly
Yeah.
live on a stage when you're dancing and jumping around. Your voice is going to waver and fluctuate. You're going to take breaths in different places. So it has to sound human.
Yeah. You can even get plugins that just strip the vocal out. And there's even on Ableton and Logic now, there's like stem splitter stuff.
Right.
So whether they just can't be asked to take the vocal out, because I get it. Sometimes you make a tune. I've got a few, and you think, oh, I didn't get the producer to do me a PA version, and then the computer's broken, they've lost the files. But you can just whack it through a plugin now.
You can put it through things now where you
It's
take it
not hard
down.
to
Yeah,
do.
100%.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
No
Wow, I
excuse.
feel like we've had a music industry 101 and songwriting 101 here.
Right. I'm so glad
Wicked.
you asked me. I've really enjoyed this. It's been great to think about things.
Wasn't expecting that. There you go,
Really?
man. This is the magic of conversation. Well,
That's
I
it.
don't know, like
Exactly. Yeah. I think
just talk whatever we talk about. But yeah,
you've got the knack for bringing out these emotions and situations that haven't been thought about anyway. But this is great because I mean I
wicked.
hope people are interested. But it's been a really cool experience for me.
Good, man.
Yeah,
Let's bring it up to speed. So
sure.
we've covered a lot of your history and so much from the, deep inside the mind of Ayah. You took a bit of a break. You've come back with a bang. So yeah, I want to hear about what you're up to now, really. But I'll tell you one thing I noticed this morning, actually. I saw your name on a sick event in
I know what you're
Bristol,
talking
the
about. Yeah.
1985 thing. I was like, "Raw,
How unreal is that?
that is a lineup."
isn't it? But
Wow.
how nice is it to for that to be off, like, as people who've been in this industry so long, to feel that? I haven't felt that in a while. Just that, like, raw. Yeah,
It stands out by a
that's
mile. And the
right.
aesthetic of it as well. Obviously, everything that Alex Perez does, it just
Absolutely.
looks
Yeah.
slick.
It's funny. I
But
knew straight away what you were talking about. Yeah.
did ya? Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting one though, because it's not. I'm not trying to pigeonhole you by any way, shape, or form, but it's not your kind of camo and crooked hospital kind of vibes, which I know you represent as you've said.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's a real different lineup.
It really, but it really reminds me of what we used to do, right? And I have to say, like, seeing MC's GQ Rage Ayah Marar, that's a
Come
big
on.
deal to me. And even though I've known the guys for a very long time, just seeing that in print yesterday, that was a big deal for me. It
Sick.
meant it means a whole lot, you know. Um,
Do you know who
so,
you're performing with at that? What's
yeah,
he doing?
Zero
Yeah.
T, Zero T. Yeah,
Nice.
so that's going to be great because I think he's incredible. He's
Yeah.
such a sick DJ.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
like the way he flips the rough with the smooth. He can go from
exactly.
like that kind of R&B style bootleggy vibe
Yes.
that he does so well into like tear out Amen, head metalheads, and then back
Absolutely. In
again.
fact, I think I'm also doing Tasha's set, if I'm not mistaken. I
Okay,
think I am doing Tasha's as well. Yeah.
wicked man. Is that D&B?
Yeah.
Because she plays a lot of techno and stuff as well, doesn't she?
Yeah, she's doing it. I imagine that it's just a D&B room, so I can't imagine she'll play
Okay.
anything other than that. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
she's
yeah.
sick. She's also sick.
So what else has this year, or what are you up to currently, or what have you got to look forward to this year? Where's your head at? What's the vibe?
Do you know, I was I was complaining last year about whether or not I was going to get enough and now it's not like I have an incredible amount of shows, but I'm like, okay, we're good now. Don't need to- I'm really happy that I have things lined up for the summer, that I can still do them while enjoying my family life, and yeah, to just have a few bits on the go as well as like studio stuff going on. I've got a little secret release coming out in June, which I'll tell you more about soon, but I can't really say on the air
Yeah, yeah.
just yet. But it's
That's
something
cool.
I've
We'll,
been
we'll
looking
accept
forward
that. We'll
to.
accept that.
I'll tell you off the air,
You're
yeah.
not even going to give
But
us like the label. Can't say anything, though.
if I tell you the label, you're gonna guess, so I can't.
Oh, okay. We
But
know
I
what
will
it
tell you.
is.
I'll tell you. Yeah, I'll
All
tell
right,
you.
big up.
So
Okay,
I've
I'm
got
good at
that
keeping a
coming.
secret anyway.
I've got that coming. Also, I've been working with some really cool people. So there are these guys out in New Zealand. They were part of a group called Sly Chaos, and now called In Motion, and they've sent me some sick backing tracks. In fact, if you're interested in doing some writing, we should. Yeah, I'll send you some bits, and we can see if there's
Okay.
anything that you want to jump
Yeah,
on.
man. I'm liking the sound of
Yeah,
that. Come on,
yeah. I think
wicked.
this. I like that you mentioned that you haven't done studio sessions. You should come to my studio sometime.
I'd love to. I'd love
Yeah,
to because I think it's important. I need to experience this. I'm not getting any younger, and I don't want my
yeah.
writing
Right.
experience
You
just
and
to
me
be like
both.
me sitting in a room with a pad.
Yeah.
You know.
I think also, I mean, I don't know about, I think the shelf life for, sorry to be sexist about it, but I think male MCs have a much longer shelf life than perhaps female MCs or vocalists in general, especially in drum and bass. You see people still killing it now that have been doing it for
Yeah.
30 year or more.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas with me, I'm 46 this year, and
Okay.
I can't imagine people are going to want to be booking a 50-year-old Arab woman to jump around on stage when so I want to
I don't know.
do as much as I
I mean,
can.
I
Mm.
understand the sentiment, but I don't know. Do you ever look around and sometimes I'm 44, so we're not like we're similar kind of ages, and
Yeah.
sometimes I'm on stage and I'm one of the younger ones.
Yeah.
I feel like and I get what you're
When
saying,
you're
like
around
with
foundation, yeah, right.
whether there is
Yeah,
a difference in terms of like the sort of male female side of things. I don't know.
yeah.
I've never really thought about it that deeply, but I often think, wow, like some of these dons here are like 57, 58, 60,
Yes.
still out every
Yes.
weekend doing their thing. So
Foundation.
do you feel under pressure in that sense? Like in terms of this kind of like thing that we have in our heads about, oh, time is ticking, got to get it done.
I like to think, and I hope I'm not being presumptuous here, because you look like a spring chicken and you look far younger than 44. And I like to think that maybe our generation is getting away with doing stuff at an older age than other generations. I
Yeah,
think I don't know what it is that happened in the 80s and, around that time to allow us to look and act the way we do at an age that felt to me as old when I was younger, like if I was to
100.
think about it, or my
It's music.
parents'
It's the
friends.
music.
Do you think so?
100% because it's going to sound a horrible, judgy type thing to say, but I'm not that kind of person. But so sometimes, if I go to a school event, for
Mm.
instance, and I'm with my son, I look at some of the other dads.
Yeah.
I think we have a personal joke about this. I'm not digging anyone out. I'm not like
No, no,
cussing people.
no.
I say to them, my son and my partner, like, could you imagine him on stage at a rave this weekend? And then I think, shit, is that what I look
I
like? And
know
then I know in
exactly
my
what you
heart
mean.
that I can't put it into better words than that, but I know in my heart that no, that isn't what I look like because we're plugged into music and culture and
Strolling in with the Air
it
Maxes
keeps us
on,
young.
like
Yeah, yeah, but you don't feel like you're like
no,
trying it.
no,
Like
no, no, that's
it's
just us.
real.
I get that
Keeps us
completely.
plugged in. And I just think that is different. On the flip side of that, the other thing is that being out all night, hardly getting any sleep, being on the road, I'm not sure that is great for your health.
No, there's a very different way of approaching things now for me. I think nights are getting a bit more that you don't have the like 4 to 5 a.m. really kind of raves going on at the moment. I think they're all, or at least the things that I'm getting involved in now. There's a lot of daytime raves going on at the
Yeah, yeah.
moment and things that end at like 2 a.m. So it's all quite palatable. There's nothing too
Yeah.
graveyard shifty.
Yeah. Funnily enough, the last couple of sets that I've done have been 4 till 6s, which is I agree though. I was a
Yeah,
bit like,
better,
"Rah,
better you
really?"
than me, babe. I can't.
Like,
I
like
couldn't do it.
Volts in Brighton comes alive at 5 a.m. in the morning. The best
True,
set
that's
is
true.
5
And then
a.m.
for
But that's an
that,
anomaly.
but if I did that, I'd have to go to bed early and then wake up for it as
That's
opposed
what
to
I
go
do.
through the night. Yeah, right.
That's what I
See?
do.
Yeah,
Even if I don't go to sleep, I have to separate night from day
you
or day
have
from
to.
night.
Yeah,
If whether it's
it's
just
too
like a
much.
little NSDR or a little
Yeah,
meditation or a little
yeah.
hypnotherapy vibe or hopefully 3 hours of sleep is what
You
I
need
would
it.
like.
Something, just something to set the tone. You can't. Otherwise, it's just we can't keep it up. And especially when you've got family life going on and you can't. It's just impossible.
Yeah, it's the driving thing as well. If I do a
Oh,
show, you're sort of neck of the woods. But if I drive to Bristol, I ain't paying for a hotel out of my fee.
do
Like
you
that's
know?
not really an option for me because I'm doing this for a living. And yeah, I do drive, do the set, 3 hours there, 2 hours on the mic, drive home again. The last
Yeah.
time I did it the other weekend, I got to South Mims and I was like, shit, I don't know if I can stay awake, but
It's so
I'm not
tiring.
quite sure where I'm going to pull over right now because that isn't looking like an option on the motorway, and it got a bit yeah, it got a bit techie for a
But
few
do you know,
minutes.
I feel you. It happened to me last week when I was coming back from a gig, from the hospital gig, actually, at Magazine. And the minute night falls on the motorway specifically, not on
Mhm.
side roads, because I'm okay, that's fine. The minute you're on there's something hypnotic about it. And especially with the no lights. And I used to think, okay, maybe that makes you focus more. It doesn't. It lulls you into this false sense of
Yeah,
security. And I just said to my husband the other day, I said, I just don't want to drive at night. I don't want to do it. I
yeah,
can't do it, especially after a gig, because your adrenaline's up there. And then all of a sudden your adrenaline just goes boom. And that's
yep.
when everything just starts to shut down.
That post
It's
gig
different
haze.
to
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's not the same as just driving in the night when you're fully alert. There's something about that dip in adrenaline that's really dangerous.
So how do you navigate in terms of this lifestyle factor that we're talking about? You get
Yeah.
in from a gig, not much sleep, and then you got the kids, the family, and all this sort of stuff. Like how do you personally navigate that?
I have my husband is amazing. He's the best support network ever. So he picks up the slack where even though he's got a full-on job himself, he's a builder and he's got a very physical job and he does, a lot of the grunt work and he picks up the slack where if I'm away or, especially when I go away, if I've got Croatia with hospital records and it's 4 or 5 days. So Mark steps in, does it all. So I'm very lucky in that respect. It's just the two of us. We don't have family in the area.
Okay.
Mark's from Scotland, I'm from Jordan. So it's just us.
Yeah, yeah.
But we make it work. And Kayla's amazing. She's 8 now. And she's an amazing young lady. And her and dad just get on with it. But I also have been, as I said to you earlier when we were talking earlier, that I'm really investing in my health these days. You know, I felt like I was, at the end of the day, I think whatever size you are, whoever, whether you're big or small or whatever it is, if you feel right and you're healthy, that's great for you. But personally, I wasn't feeling right in my body for a long time. And I think that carried over after having a baby. And I thought, oh, for a very long time, I thought, oh, it's okay. It's okay because I've had a baby. And it wasn't right for me. And I think it
Mhm.
did play a part and delayed my re-entry into music. But now I'm really focused on physical aspect of everything, exercise and yoga, and I'm back into running, and that has a lot to do with not just my daughter, but also staying fit for shows and being able to, be around these 20 something people who are drinking and staying up late and doing all the stuff that we used to do, but we have to do it in a different way now. We have to have that
Yeah.
power and control, and I feel great for it. I think it's the way forward.
So
Healthy
what
living.
yeah, no, 100%, 100%. What are your, I know you mentioned yoga, excuse me, and running in terms of
Mm.
healthy habits, or not even habits, like lifestyle. What are the really important things to you then that you focus on?
Food has changed so much for us recently. We've um there was a lot of things that I used to let slip before that now I'm just like, you know what? No, no, no. I deserve to eat better. I deserve to eat. We've always known how to eat well, but when you let little things creep into your diet that perhaps aren't doing you any favors,
Yeah,
and we've just started to get rid of all of that. And at the risk of sounding preachy, I think that completely changes your everything, your mindset, your output, your energy levels.
yeah,
I think, yeah, what you put in your body is what you get out of it.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
that's really important. I mean, sleep. The thing with sleep is, yeah, here's the thing. And I read something about this recently. When you become a mum, yeah, this is a biological fact.
Hmm.
There is an enzyme that's released in your body once you've given birth that stops you from ever having such a deep sleep that nothing wakes you up ever
Oh no,
again because yeah,
really?
yeah, yeah,
What?
yeah. So my husband used to make fun of me. I'd sleep through anything, literally people banging the door down, whatever it is, I'd sleep through it. Now a pin drops and I'm high alert, just up. And that's just
That's mad. Do you think that's
the
like an evolutionary thing, so that you're alert to like
absolutely,
look
yeah. You
after the
got to
child, that
protect
kind of
from the
thing?
wolves, yeah. So
It's a bit unfair though, isn't it?
but yeah, I know everyone has their gripes with sleep, but I think it's important. Sleep is important. Um,
I mean,
uh,
on the
you know,
sleep thing, I'm really interested because um, I find it really hard to sleep in the day. So let's just say I get back, like we're talking about Bristol, for instance. I get back 6:30 in the morning. I might sleep for like an hour. My circadian rhythm, I just can't sleep. I know, like it might sound like a story I'm telling myself, but let me say it, okay, more accurate. I find it very challenging to sleep in the daytime. So a gig weekend for me feels like I basically miss a night's sleep that week. And then the next day, I don't know if you find this, the body is kind of feels like it's working against you because it's
it's
craving just
worse.
shit food, salt,
100%.
sugar, So I do find that as much as I love this world of music that we do, like I do sometimes think this is making my health goals a lot harder.
The sugar thing, especially, like if I've had no sleep, that's my go-to. It's literally sugar, sugar, sugar. And that's normal because your body's tired. And that's the first thing your brain thinks is a quick fix. It's that is the drug, isn't it? To
Yeah.
get the energy levels up. But um, it's funny because the culture that I come from, yeah, Arab men specifically, sleeping in the afternoon is part of the culture, and I suppose siesta as well. And so in Spain or whatever. So, my dad would come home from work, have lunch, have a nap, and go back to work.
Really?
And that
Wow.
was just part of his day. So there
Okay.
was and it's important. You eat, and then I'm going to have a sleep, and
Mm.
then I'm okay. I can go again. And I find that, I mean, I often think I need I need to get into that's my culture.
Yeah.
That's my
Yeah.
heritage,
Come on, represent your culture.
Then,
Yeah.
and we weren't allowed to make any noise at that time. It's like, that's Baba's sleep time. So everyone
Yeah.
needs to shut the fuck up, for an hour or two, whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think I need to introduce that in our household. Just have the hour sleep in the afternoon.
Yeah. it's a tricky one. I felt like I've developed a bit of a sleep complex recently. Not recently, in the last few years. I kind of sorted myself out a bit when I hit 40, and
Right.
I stopped. I wasn't a massive drinker anyway, but I stopped drinking completely.
Mm.
Was already into fitness, but I just did a lot of work on sort of mindset, if you want to call it that. But I've got this thing now. Like I almost have developed like a slight fear of not having enough sleep,
Yeah.
and that's why the reason I'm talking about this, because the gig thing kind of feeds into that, because it's sort of
Right.
like, oh God, I'm going to be tired. I've got this thing about feeling tired, even if
Yeah.
like, oh no, I'm doing a podcast with Ayah tomorrow. Like I've got to
Well,
have a
you're
good
not going to
night's
be
sleep.
you won't be
Do you
your
know what I
best
mean?
self, right? If you're
And
tired.
but yeah, my body clock is mad. Like as a family, we eat dinner at about 4:30,
Same.
and probably asleep by 8.
Same. We eat about
Yeah, yeah.
5, and but the thing is, when my daughter wants to stay up longer, and I'm like, listen, this is my fall asleep time. Like, I want to
Yeah.
go to bed I'm in my bed at 8:30, and then, but this is what happens, Phil. I fall asleep, 8:30, 9 o'clock, tuck my daughter in, and then by 9, 10, 11, 12, well, by 1, I'm up.
Is it
By
one? Wow.
5, I'm fully awake because
Yeah,
I went to bed
100. Yeah.
early, So there's
But do
that.
you feel tired in the day?
Um, I don't think I allow myself to. I probably do, but then make up for it by whether you eat sugar when you shouldn't, or you don't. You can't identify that it's tiredness, but you don't allow yourself to because you've got stuff to do. I've got to pick my kids up
Mm.
from school, got to
Yeah,
make
yeah.
dinner. I've got to do feed the animals. I've got to do all this stuff. So you don't allow yourself. Maybe you mask that tiredness in a way that, it might not be very healthy.
I've thoroughly enjoyed this and enjoying
Me
it. I
too.
feel we should maybe move towards the end of the episode. Is there anything we haven't really talked about that you want to talk about? Even if it's a shameless plug, I'm here for that. But anything you want to mention, bring up.
No, I'm good. I would love to tell people just to keep buying the records and keep supporting those grassroots nights, because those are the important things that are part of the culture that we really need to. And that's why I'm so grateful to you for doing what you do on that level. And please let me know if there's ever anything I can get involved in that side of things, because I'd love to.
Big up.
And just to just to keep propping up the culture, and to
Yeah, man.
keep loving drum and bass the way we have been for such a long time.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's
Absolutely.
been an
Love that.
absolute pleasure, Phil. I've really enjoyed it. And I
So
hope
have
you're
I.
not going to use this whole 2 hours 45. I mean, whittle it down to something people can palate, because it's obviously
No,
no one
no,
wants
no.
to
The
hear
whole
us.
thing's going up.
Is it
I don't give
really?
a shit. Like the whole thing's going up.
Okay, fair enough. Fair
Yeah.
enough.
No,
Let me
it's
know what I can do.
I'm here for a long podcast, and people can consume it however they wish.
Sure, true. Like that
So
cup of
yeah,
coffee.
yeah,
Yeah.
man, yeah, exactly. There's a bit of a closing tradition called the Ultimate MC Cipher.
Right?
Okay, where don't worry,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna get you to do anything horrible.
Okay, good.
Um, yeah, but it is kind of putting you on the spot a little bit. So
Okay.
you need to pick 5 MCs to
Okay.
appear in your ultimate MC cipher. So just imagine you're sitting in an armchair chilling, and you want to
Okay.
watch these 5 MCs going in uh, over whatever type of music or genre. It doesn't really matter. They could be from the past, the present, dead or
Okay.
alive. You
5,
know,
yeah?
5, any genre, any MC, whoever you
Okay.
want. Who would you put into that circle?
Biggie, Nas, Fife Dog, Most Def, and God, so many. There's so many. Who would I choose for the last spot? Um, let's say Method Man.
Come on, to cow, yeah.
hmm
So
I was
you're
gonna
you're
say I thought Jizza should have been in there, but I was toying with which one out of the Wu Tang I was gonna go with, and it's gotta be Meth. It's gotta be Meth for the voice.
yeah, man. Yeah, pure
How about
90s
you? Who are
90s
your
New York
5?
vibes.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
that's you, yeah.
How
Okay.
about you? Who are your 5?
Well, as it stands, well, I mean, I've done this on the podcast before. As it
Oh, you
stands right
have?
now,
Yeah,
I just mean like what I said then. I can't even remember what I'm
yeah.
feeling today. Right? Who's in my cipher today? Okay.
Today.
I'm gonna say I want to hear Ira. I'm not just saying that because I was
Okay, yeah,
talking
yeah,
about
yeah,
Nightly, by the
yeah.
way.
Hold tight. Yeah, sure. Why
I
not?
love Ira. I want to hear, right, okay, I really want to mix
Excuse me.
this up because they're going to go in a bit multi-genre. So I want to hear Ira. I want to hear Dynamite. I want
Yes,
to
shout Dynamite.
hear Wiley. I
Okay,
always draw for Wiley, to be honest,
okay.
but I'm not going to change that now. So yeah, boom, Wiley's in there. I want to hear Skinny Man. And I want to hear Black Twang.
Do you know what? That brought a whole new. You've opened up a whole new can of worms there because because the Roots Maneuver. We could go down all of that.
I didn't say, but this is why it's such an annoying question because then I'm like, hold on a
I
minute.
know. Yeah.
Juice Man, I always go on record saying this. Juice Man's my favorite MC. I've not, but I put him in
Really,
it last time, so I'm really enjoying like old school sort of '97 Shabba at the moment, as in Shabba,
really. Yeah,
Shabba
yeah,
D, not Shabba Ranks.
yeah.
So
No,
maybe
I'm with
get him.
you. Yeah, yeah,
Anyway,
yeah.
it's that kind of annoying question in that you just think, oh, but this, but that.
No,
So
I
yeah,
know. Yeah, it'll keep you thinking. Yeah, keep you thinking. Absolutely.
it's always interesting to me where people's minds go. You went straight into that '90s new NYC.
Hundred
So
percent.
that's really for you then that says that that's where your heart is at. That's your golden
Ultimate.
era.
Ultimate.
Yeah, man.
100% my era. Yeah.
Yeah, wicked. Smith and
Yeah.
Weston and Helter Skelter, they're two
Oh
people I
God.
like digging
Yeah.
dipping back into.
Absolutely. Yeah.
No, they're a bit underrated at the time.
Well, Immortal Technique and all that kind of
Mm.
side of things as
Like
well. And yeah.
when I listened to hip hop back in like at the actual time it was all coming out, I'd never heard of Helter Skelter.
No.
I've got back into them more recently and I'm like, wow, they are
It,
sick.
yeah. Helter Skelter was a drum and bass night, wasn't it, for us at one
Well,
point?
yeah,
Yeah.
I went there actually, yeah.
Yeah.
Went to that in
Yeah.
1997. Milton Keynes
Gosh. Yeah.
Sanctuary.
I just
Come
missed
on.
it. I just came in a year too late for that.
Oh, talking. I know we are meant to be wrapping up, and I promise you will in a sec. But talking about, my mind's just gone kind of like UK rap, UK hip hop, UK
Yeah.
artists.
Yeah. Love
Um,
got.
um,
Oh, sorry.
am I right in thinking that you've got some kind of family connection or personal connection to Illiman?
No, Illiman was my if you like to say, he was my hype man for a while. So when I was doing my shows, so
Oh, right.
Illiman was my stage buddy
Oh,
MC.
okay, okay.
Yeah.
I knew
So
there
it
was
was
some kind of
myself.
link between you and
Yeah,
Illiman.
I know we toured together for a while. Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Friends and yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But not related, but we did work together musically. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that's cool. I just for some reason I
Yeah.
thought he was like your brother-in-law or something. I don't know, man. In
Yeah,
my head, I thought
funny,
there was like
right?
a
It's funny
relationship
how
of
people
that
think.
nature.
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
we
interesting.
did quite a lot together. We did because there was when I did my shows, my drum and bass shows, it was myself, a DJ, and my MC. So he'd be the MC, and then we
Oh,
had
okay.
Troll or Tenku on the deck. So
Oh, sick.
whoever, yeah, was around at the time. Those were some really good shows, man. Those were good
Wicked.
shows. Yeah,
Wicked. Okay, cool. So we've done the Ultimate MC Cypher.
yeah.
I feel like we've had a fantastic chat, catch up.
Likewise, likewise. It's been
Long
awesome.
overdue, yeah.
Thank
Look,
you.
back where we started,
I
2005,
know, full
backdrop.
circle. I love it.
Come on.
Yeah, I know.
I'll I'll send you
Please, yeah,
pictures of
send me.
these or
Yeah, yeah,
scans
do.
or
Please do. Please
whatever
do.
we can do. Yeah, man.
Perfect.
Okay. Well, look, thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
And
It's been awesome.
yeah, big up. And yeah, listeners, have to say all this stuff before we sign out. If you're watching on YouTube, you can listen on Spotify and Apple, and vice versa. And this is very much a grassroots, a bit like my music career. It's very grassroots, underground. Catering for the niche and all that good stuff. So sharing it, following it, liking it, subscribing it, and all that podcasty stuff really does help. And jump on the Instagram as well at Mike Minded People. Do you want to plug your socials or anything? I'll
Yeah,
put it in the
well,
show
just
notes.
come through, say hi. Ayah Marar, everything. ayahmarar.com, and then onwards from there. Yeah.
Easy.
Just
You
come
managed to
through.
pattern the whole keeping it the same across all the
It's got to be,
platforms.
mate.
Come on.
Yeah, yeah. One
I'm
of the few
jealous, man.
business ideas that I managed to do successfully.
It's
Yeah,
so annoying, isn't it, when you wanted like you go online and like someone who's got like
I
3
know.
followers is take like I can't have Focus because someone else has got it, but they've got like no followers, no posts.
I
I
tell
can't
you
even have
what, I
Phil
did drop.
Focus.
Yeah, no, I dropped because I was on Twitter, but as soon as Elon Musk took over X, I got rid of that. So I don't know the only thing I don't know about is
Oh,
X.
okay.
Everything else, Bandcamp, SoundCloud,
Wicked.
iTunes, all of the big ones are IMRR, all of
Well,
them.
just stick
But
Ayah Marar into your search engine of
that's
choice
it.
and you're going to
Yeah,
get it all
that's
there.
it.
I'm going to go on your
Hmm.
website. Yeah, I'm up for checking out.
Please
Old
do.
school, like I like the old school. In my mind, it feels old school. The people having like a .com for their artistry. I like that.
Well, I've got both. I've got the comment.co.uk, so they lead you to the
Okay,
same place. Yeah,
wicked.
got to get both, mate.
So yeah, there you go, peeps. Go and hit up and follow Ayah. Hit me up at Mike Minded People. Also, if you want to send in your ultimate MC cipher, people. Oh
Mm.
shit! You know what? Another episode's gone by where I've forgotten to do the ones that people have actually sent in. I'm really sorry to
Oh,
the people that have done this. Bit
oh
slack,
no.
but we have been talking for almost 3 hours. I'm not
Why
going to
don't
go
you
and get my phone
do a
out.
little video on Instagram and
Yeah.
do that on a video
I
so
might
they
do a
get there?
shorter kind of solo episode where I just
Yeah,
chit chat
yeah.
on my own and drop them in
Do a
there. But
little.
I'll promise you, if you sent me one, I'll read it. So keep sending them, keep interacting. And yeah, like I said, keep supporting the culture. That's what it's all about.
Always,
This is not
always,
just
always.
music. It's not just talk. It's culture.
We love it.
So yeah, on that note, I'm going to hit stop. Peace.